What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
7GV. Chapter 171 The Battle of Alabasta. One of the three major organizations under the world government, known as the Enies Lobby of the City That Never Sleeps. At this time, behind the Enies Lobby, the huge door of justice towering into the sky burst open. In the gap opened by the huge door, huge warships slowly drove out of the door. The three major agencies under the government, Naval Headquarters, Impel Down, and Enies Lobby, all have a huge door of justice nearby. Behind the gate of justice is a huge circulation linking the three major institutions, and the ships under the government can quickly travel through the circulation. Wahahaha, how long has it been since we've acted together, Zephyr? On the deck of the lead ship, the marine hero is laughing. Standing beside him was a man in a purple suit, with soft purple hair and a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. Although he was tall and strong, he gave off a refined look. His name is also very popular in this 990 world. Black Arm Zephyr, the former admiral of headquarters, the current naval headquarters chief instructor, together with the hero Garp and the Buddha Sengoku constitute the existence of the top marine combat power in the last era. I don't find it funny, Garp. Marine's instructor's voice is cold, and he's not at all the same as his old friend. I don't think you don't know the meaning of this war. What a disappointment. D. The hero Garp patted his old friend on the shoulder sadly. Although there is going to be a war, let's be more happy, after all. He suddenly had a bright smile on his face. We are going to avenge Sengoku. Black Arm Zephyr pursed his lips. He has regretted many things in his life, the most recent of which is that he did not go to Ohara with Sengoku. Let's go. The Grand Fleet from Naval Headquarters sailed out of Enies Lobby and headed straight for Alabasta. Leading this fleet are Marine Hero Garp the Fist and Marine Chief Instructor Black Arm Zephyr. Accompanying him were 5 Naval Headquarters Vice Admirals and a group of agents from the CPO. At the same time, the marine base near the Common Sea area named by the Dulin panel also started to move. The warships began to assemble one after another, and the marine soldiers with live ammunition boarded the warships, and then the warships sailed out of the military port. Their goal is a group of countries and islands in the Common Sea area, and they are going to wipe out all the forces of the Illuminati in one go. Also, the island of the gods. God, there's news. Morgans came to see Dulin. Marine's fleet should have already set off. More information is unclear. What is clear is that the people leading the team are Marine Hero Garp the Fist and Marine Chief Instructor Black Arm Zephyr. Is it? At this time, Dulin was enjoying afternoon tea. He nodded lightly, then let Mahad and the others go out. Yes. Morgans ran away excitedly. Ha ha ha, this time it must be a big news that will cause a sensation in the world. Looking at his back, Dulin smiled slightly, picked up the black tea on the table and took a sip. You can still laugh. Opposite to Dulin, there was Guion Rear Admiral lying on the table. Although she was weakened by Seastone's collar, she had a bright smile on her face. Your opponents are Vice Admiral Garp and Mr. Zephyr. Face them, all your resistance is doomed to be in vain. Guion has given up resistance. She has been very clear about the struggle for so long. The guy in front of her is terrifyingly strong, not to mention her weak now. Even in her prime, she is probably too weak in front of him. But now, it's time for this guy's bad luck. Dulin just smiled. You be **************, D, are you still pretending? Guion Rear Admiral said with a sneer, what will greet you will only be a dismal ending. There's no need to rush. Dulin smiled softly, after all, the result won't be too long. So I wait. Guion's face made no secret of her resentment and hatred. Dulin chuckled. Well, it's almost time to go by myself. The time came later. Sonning Island Marine Base. Pelusolino stood on the shore, watching the huge warships approaching quickly. It's really fast. In the next instant, he had turned into light and appeared directly on the deck of the distant ship. Yo, Mr. Garp, Mr. Zephyr. Pelusolino greeted the two men standing on the deck with a smile. Ha 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 ha, you seem to be in good spirits, Pelusolino. The marine hero laughed loudly. I thought your boy would become ashamed after being hit. It's not a big deal. Pelusolino said with a smile. HMPH, you don't care if you fail, Pelusolino, I remember I should have reminded you many times. Black Arm Zephyr said coldly, when dealing with justice, be more serious. Oh, Mr. Zephyr is in class again. Pelusolino immediately raised his hands in surrender. Ha ha ha, the relationship between the two of you is still as good as ever. The marine hero laughed. Okay, let's discuss the next strategy first. What strategy is there? Zephyr said. Go straight to Albana, take down all the rebel leaders and declare their crimes, and lure the gang out, unless they don't care about the country of Alabasta at all. Well, as expected of Teacher Zephyr. Pelusolino nodded with a smile. Indeed, the trouble is that we can't find them at all, and we can only hope to lure the snake out of the hole. With the arrogance of that group, if we do this, they will definitely not sit idly by. Wahaha, let's do it. The marine hero laughed loudly. Let's go. Go to Albana. The marine fleet then sailed to Alabasta, which is very close. The fleet soon arrived at the mouth of the Sonning River, and the next step was to enter the inland along the canal, and then head straight for Albana. However, this is the time. Thunder suddenly fell from the sky. Black and white thunderbolts descended from the sky 2.9 densely like torrential rain, covering the entire marine fleet in an instant. Hey, no way. Pelusolino raised his head abruptly. Are you waiting for us? Faster than him raising his head was a figure that jumped up. Wow, ha 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 ha. It seems that no other programs are needed. There is a long black lightning bolt on the marine hero's fist, and his right fist is ready to go. Fist bone impact. Fist with him. The terrifying ultra-wide-range hockey shock wave roared out, like a nuclear bomb explosion, directly detonating all falling thunders in the blink of an eye. Black Arm Zephyr also looked up. In the sky, several large ships are landing. And a guy riding on the back of a yellow flying dragon was also falling rapidly. I remember I said, don't interfere with our affairs. He said, but if you want to go to war, go to war. Chapter 172. The battle begins. The island of the gods, the temple. On the square outside the temple, the maids are gathering to watch the live broadcast. Of course, the person who started the live broadcast was Morgans. Although he could not directly appear on the battlefield due to confidentiality, this did not prevent him from obtaining first-hand consultation on the battlefield. After all, even if the ranking is at the bottom, the Knights of the Gods are also the Knights of the Gods, and it is easy for a few Sun Knights to help him live broadcast. Hey, this is the start of the wonderful battle. As soon as the image phone bug projected the scene, Morgans was already dancing excitedly, the change of the old and new eras. It starts from this moment. The maids and ladies who gathered to watch the excitement all stared at the image projected by the phone bug with wide eyes expectantly. The change of the times. Dare to think. Rear Admiral Guion, who was lying on one side of the table, sneered, the only thing waiting for you is defeat. Probably because she was a little too emotional, her already weak body slid down to the ground. A woman with sky blue hair next to her hurriedly and carefully helped her up. Miss Guion. Sorry, Your Royal Highness. Among all the people here, Guion 10 Rear Admiral will only be gentler to the woman in front of him. After all, Her Royal Highness Wang Hao was also kidnapped and had the same tragic experience as her. Hey, you don't understand at all. Morgans turned around with a strange smile. What kind of power does God possess? Guion just sneered. Although I don't know why this guy also became that B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* Alabasta, the location of the estuary of the Sonning River. Marine's fleet has stopped because the enemy has appeared. Ha ha ha, it's so interesting. Zephyr, look, it's a ship that can fly. Garp, the hero who directly smashed the thunder that fell from the sky with an iron fist just now, suddenly landed on the deck. He looked up at the sky and laughed like a child. Those ships. Black Arm Zephyr frowned. Those ships in the sky are surrounded by clouds and bubbles. Something like Little Sky Island Visalia technology. Zephyr hesitated. Speaking of which, it seems that Visalia hasn't appeared in a long time. Rubbing his chin, Pelusolino said thoughtfully, but it doesn't matter, as long as we can defeat them, all the problems will be gone. That's right. Vice Admiral Garp laughed. Let's end this now. Hey, the boy up there. He shouted to Mahad in the sky, where's your boss? Where's the little devil who claims to be a god? If you don't defeat the real leader, you won't be able to eradicate the roots. It's not something you should care about. Mahadaki was condescending on the back carrying the flying dragon, with a calm expression on his face. Now, just get ready for the trial. Judgment. Say something stupid. Black Arm Zephyr said in a cold voice, justice has never judged criminals. I have never heard of criminals judging law enforcers. Sinner. Law enforcer. Mahad was unmoved. It's really small, and it is still limited to this inexplicable concept. God is an existence above all axioms and justice. For ordinary people, it is enough to obey. What a waste of words. Zephyr simply tore off the coat of justice that was draped over his shoulders, and unbuttoned the collar and cuffs without any hesitation. Slap. Oh, Vice Admiral Garp also tore off his coat. His fists were already pitch black. Go. Zephyr. Is it finally time to start fighting? Can't wait. On a spaceship above, a figure has fallen rapidly from the sky. White jet of destruction. An astonishing beam of light has fallen from above, crushing towards the warship below with a devastating momentum. Hey, Zephyr, it's not easy. Vice Admiral Garp's complexion has changed at this moment. There are still masters. Pelusolino also had a surprised expression. There is no doubt that the power of this attack that fell from the sky is even higher than that guy named Enel. Give it to me. Zephyr leapt to his feet and struck with an iron fist. Boom. The violent explosion resounded through the entire sky in an instant, and huge circular steam waves spread round after round. The sea is boiling, and the entire fleet is constantly rising and falling in the waves. Zephyr landed with a crash, and he shook his hand. Something is wrong. This attack is not right. She Sarah, come on. Wings of light condense from behind, and the beautiful and moving girl is condescending. It's the little girl from Logue Town back then. Vice Admiral Garp frowned. Has such power. Too young. Too strong. Ha 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 ha. If I fight, of course I won't fall behind. Another tall figure fell from the sky, and then spread its green wings to float in the sky. And finally Enel, with the black and white thunderwings behind him. Can they all fly? Pelusolino frowned immediately. What a coincidence. It so happens that everyone's ability has the function of flying. What surprised him even more was still behind. More people flew down from the top 423, and then spread their wings of flame at the same time. They are like a group of flaming birds floating above the sky. Hey, Mr. Garp, Mr. Zephyr, this is wrong. Mahad raised his wand. Everyone, prepare to fight. You know, in Mariajoy, there is still a Knights of God. Heroes Garp and Black Arm Zephyr are equally stunning. Ha ha ha, let's go. Black Arm Zephyr roared. Just let you experience it, the power that God has given me. The Knights of the Gods. Bold. Enel grinned. The next ones who will be your opponents are our Knights of God. Kisara was the first to fly down, and during this process, her body glowed with white light, and then instantly covered with a layer of silver-white armor. Is it too early to be shocked now? Pelusolino's eyes widened instantly. Could it be possible that all the members are Mara fruit capable? Yoroj laughed loudly, and also fell down in the air. Oh, at this time, a guy in a white robe suddenly said, how dare you take that name? All have mastered the power of fire. Attack. What the hell is going on? Thus, the battle began. Chapter 173 Melee. Du Lin's destination. Ha ha ha, although I don't want to bully young people, but since it's an enemy, it's different. The marine hero has jumped up, and the waterline of the huge marine warship deepened in an instant, and he flew towards Kisara like lightning. Oh, do you want to fight Kisara? Kisara's laughter was as crisp as a silver bell, and when she grasped it with both hands, 2 balls of light had already formed in her hands. No, Kisara, your opponent is Black Arm Zephyr, leave this man to me. At this time, above, Mahad suddenly raised the magic wand in his hand, the curse of the 6-pointed star. A hexagram magic circle instantly appeared around the waist of the flying hero Garp, binding him in midair. Oh, is this the strange ability Pelusolino was talking about? The restrained Vice Admiral Garp is very curious. At the same time, Kisara had already fallen from his side, damn it. Mahad, you be *****************. You actually robbed Sarah's opponent. You should remember it for Kisara. Sarah has always been very unhappy with Mahad, but this time the supreme commander of the operation is Mahad. Huo, so the old man's opponent is you. The terrifying Haki flowed out from Garp's body, directly crushing the hexagram circle that bound him. The mighty Haki has power over everything, and even some special abilities can be cracked directly. And the hero Garp is best at, of course, Haki. Mahad rode on the back of the cursed flying dragon, gradually lowered his altitude, and looked down at the figure that soared to the sky. This is the most powerful opponent in this war, so of course he can only deal with it himself. Fist Bone Meteor. It is really like a shooting star going upstream, dragging a long black lightning tail. The hero Garp strikes with an iron fist. Holy Shield Mirror Power. Mahad repeated his old trick, raised his staff, and the spherical shield that could bounce back all attacks had already enveloped him. Hero Garp punched the shield. The indestructible protective cover was instantly dented with the naked eye, and it was almost as if it would collapse directly in the next instant. Mahad also frowned slightly. This punch is stronger than Whitebeard's original blow. After all, this is a real bombardment, and Whitebeard is just a shock wave. However, just this level of strength is not enough to break his protective shield. God-given abilities greatly enhanced his spellcasting abilities. The trembling protective cover straightened instantly, and then emitted a burst of strong light. Immediately. Wow W. With a cry of pain, a figure has fallen from the sky, turned into a black line and crashed into the sea. Huge waves hundreds of meters high were built on the surface of the sea, and even the pushed warships began to shake continuously due to the turbulent waves. It's not over yet. Black Explosion Destroyer Magician. At the tip of Mahad's staff, a black sphere was formed, which instantly turned into rays and smashed into the sea. Boom. A huge pothole was instantly blasted out of the sea surface, and all the sea water was evaporated in an instant. Even 2 warships were directly blown up in the middle. Garp. Amidst the turbulent waves, Black Arm Zephyr turned his head in astonishment. He even saw the Marines flying all over the sky after being bombed. A-hole. Kisara destroys the energy cannon. But now is not the time to distract him. Shishala had already come holding a huge energy light ball with both hands, and the energy ball had already smashed down. Zephyr didn't dare to neglect anything, and the next moment also rose into the air. Smash bunt. Fighting on this sea is too bad for them. But now there is no time to complain, so I can only bite the bullet. Boom. The collision between the iron fist and the energy cannon once again caused a huge explosion in the air. At this time, the already turbulent sea surface was surging with huge waves uncontrollably. Even the extremely large marine warships can no longer walk on the ground in such huge waves at this time. The Marines desperately tried to stabilize the warships, but after all, the warships continued to surge with the waves, and even collided with each other. The house leak coincided with the continuous night rain. At this time, flapping the wings of flames, the Sun Knights floating in the sky also started to move. A series of flaming guns condensed in their hands. Then, throw it down. Hundreds of flame guns fell like raindrops. Garusolino. When falling down due to the explosion, Fa roared. Understood. Pelusolino has instantly turned into light and appeared above the sky. 8-foot Chong Guyu. The light spots all over the sky went upstream, trying to blow up all the flame spears, and at the same time cover all the Sun Knights. But, Holy Shield Mirror Power. Mahad strikes again. The invincible shield takes shape again. The dense dots of light were directly blocked by the reflector, and then bounced back mercilessly. Oops. Pelusolino's eyes widened. What was reflected in his pupils was a brilliant light. If it can't be stopped, all warships will be destroyed. Fortunately, at this moment, Vice Admiral Garp flew up in the sea. Fist bone meteorite. A huge shock wave reappeared, and both the flame gun and the rebounded light were all blown away. A series of brilliant fireworks bloomed in the sky. Mr. Garp. Pelusolino was so touched that he even wanted to cry. As expected of Marine's hero. Yeah ha ha ha, so my opponent is you again. In the blink of an electric light, Enel appeared in front of him. Pelusolino's eyes instantly became serious. Boom. Below, on a warship, Voyage crashed down, causing the entire warship to tremble, and the Marines were even a little unsteady on their feet. Ha 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 ha. Then who is my opponent? Belongs to the Knights of God. Voyage joins. Good Zhao, let's go. A group of Marine Vice Admirals had already surrounded him. The Knights of God, the CP-0s in white robes were also enraged by Voyage and participated in the siege together. Ha 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 ha. It seems that I am really valued. Voyage, who was completely overwhelmed by the crowd, was even laughing. It's just that in the next moment his body has already started to bleed. His strength is very strong, but not strong enough to ignore a bunch of Vice Admiral level masters. But, ha 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 ha, refreshing. Green flames ignited, Voyage was laughing loudly, and his body was expanding simultaneously. At the same time, Dulin has also arrived at his destination. Oh, he flapped his wings, looking down at the white city below, that white city on a piece of red land. When you arrive, let's say hello first. Chapter 174 Assault on Mariajoy. Mariajoy. This is the name of the city below that was built on the vast red continent. This is the center of the world government, the city where the legendary gods live, the city above the clouds. In a sense, it is the highest city in the world in the true sense except for the Sky Islands. Dulin was floating above the city at this time. He silently looked down at Mariajoy below. Not many people live in this city. There are only 3 types of people in total. One is the staff of the world government, the other is the guards, and the last one is of course the real master of the city, a group called Celestial Dragons. The total population of the city is about hundreds of thousands, but the scale of the city is quite exaggerated, stretching all the way forward, with almost no end in sight. This is also of course, the number of Celestial Dragons group is not too large, only about tens of thousands. But each of their families is extremely extravagant, and they all own a huge manor. Of course, the size of this city is not small at all. But Dulin came here, of course, not to see the scenery. As he said, he came to say hello. Dulin has never been a follower, he prefers to take the initiative to find trouble for others than to be troubled by others. He raised his right hand, and touched it abruptly. The void was twisted by him, and he tore a long sword like a dead branch out of the void. The raging flames instantly began to burn on the sword. Dulin held up the demon sword of destruction high, and the raging flames shot up into the sky like a column of smoke. It's like a seed gradually took root and germinated, and finally grew into a towering flame tree above the sky. Then Dulin swung his sword. Magnificent flames descended from the sky, like a fiery red galaxy hanging upside down from the 9 heavens, covering most of Mariajoy directly. Well, an attack of this scale should be enough to say hello, right? Dulin thought so. In Pangu City, the 5 elders were also watching the live broadcast. The battle that took place off the coast of Alabasta is also what they are most concerned about at this time. There is no doubt that the group of people claiming to be the Illuminati is the enemy of the government comparable to the Roger Pirates back then, and it is a serious problem that must be solved immediately. It's just that at this time the 5 elders have fallen into severe shock. What's the matter with these people? One of the 5 elders, a man with 2 curly beards and a big shiny bald head, his eyes rounded in shock. Everyone has mastered the ability of flames. It's impossible for everyone to be Mara fruit capable, right? There are not many things in this world that can bring people strange powers. The most common one is devil fruit, Baba, but devil fruit is unique. Unless, another 5 elders, holding a sword in his arms, pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose, his tone became more dignified. It was a man-made devil fruit. You mean, Vegapunk? Did Vegapunk be hijacked by them? Not sure, but not necessarily impossible, etc. At this moment, 5 elders finally noticed the scene outside the window. Don't you think it's a bit too bright? He went to the window. Then, ... The eyes could no longer close. Flames, he saw a sea of flames falling from the sky. What's this? Alabasta, the mouth of the Tutting River. The battle has also entered a fierce stage. Not enough, not enough. Voyage, whose body had swelled to a size of about 20 meters, roared loudly. His body was wrapped in raging green flames. Every time a fist is swung, it can easily cause a hurricane, and when the fist falls on the warship, this huge warship will be instantly shattered. Monster. Go to hell. A Marine Vice Admiral jumped up screaming, and directly stabbed Voyage in the chest with the tyrannical hockey knife wrapped in his hand. But, like a mosquito bite, work harder, man. Voyage slapped his chest with an angry right hand. Accompanied by the tooth-piercing sound of bone cracking, the body of the Marine Vice Admiral was twisted like a bug, and then fell powerlessly into the sea. Isn't that enough? Didn't Lousy say it's not enough? Voyage, who was always smiling, was manic like a devil at this moment. Hurry up and make Lousy more refreshing. Green flames and black hockey surged out from Voyage's body at the same time, and the wind that was blown up had already blown away all the surrounding Marines. What the hell is going on with this guy? A CPO's body was trembling, and he couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Our attack has completely lost its effect on him. At the beginning, just a little more serious attack was able to tear a hole in this guy's body. But the longer the battle, the more exaggerated this guy's defense becomes. Now even if they attack with all their strength, it is difficult to leave even a little scar on this guy's body. Monster. What kind of monster is this guy? It's not just Vice Admiral and CP0 who are caught in fear, the Marines at other levels are also almost desperate at this time. Stupid mortals, enjoy the fire of punishment from the gods. Fram was floating in the sky. He holds his hands up. A huge and dazzling fireball like the sun condensed from his palm. Then, it crashed into the sea. Just in the blink of an eye, the fireball exploded, and the overwhelming flames swept everything on the sea like a tsunami. Almost all the warships on the sea were swept in and burned, and everything started to burn at this time. The screams and howls were endless in an instant. Hey hey hey, your flame seems to be stronger than everyone else's. There was no usual laziness in the tone of voice, only urgency and irritation. Pelusolino appeared in front of Fram in an instant, and his right leg, which was shining with strong light, was drawn directly towards Fram. Yeah ha ha ha, but immediately, a cloud of lightning condensed on his striker, and Enel did the same, whipped his legs. Boom. Thunder exploded, lightning and flashing back simultaneously. Fram, do what you have to do. Enel said flatly, also, set up the venue for me. Fram nodded heavily. The gap is really getting bigger and bigger. However, I also have things I can do. All Sun Knights obey orders. The head of the Sun Knights, a Mara fruit-capable user, Fram declared loudly, destroy all enemies. Immediately thereafter, flaming guns poured down the sky again. Don't think about it. Vice Admiral Garp, who was constantly attacking Mahad, but was often dissuaded by the shield, was annoyed, he rushed directly at the Sun Knights. That's when the light in Mahad's eyes flickered, his mental power began to be consumed rapidly, and all the think tanks disappeared in this instant. Overrun mode. The curse of the hexagram. Chain of demons. Vice Admiral Garp's advance stopped abruptly. A large number of six-pointed star magic circles emerged around, directly covering him. Then, countless holes appeared in all directions, and chains all over the sky flew out. In just an instant, he was directly entangled into a huge ball of chains. Garp, Marine Chief Instructor Zephyr, who was punching Kisara in the sky, had his eyes wide open. That's too late. The flaming guns that filled the sky had already fallen. Then, boom 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 boom, brilliant fireballs appeared one after another on the already raging sea. Now, it's quiet. Chapter 175 Embarrassing Battle Situation. Warn. In just an instant, all the marine warships on the sea were blown to pieces. Every flaming gun projected by the Sun Knights is more powerful than the bombardment of warships. These huge wooden warships have no resistance to such bombardment at all. A-hole. The veins on Black Arm Zephyr's forehead were throbbing violently, and his smooth purple hair almost stood upside down. Tens of thousands of marine soldiers died so easily. The only ones who can survive at this time are the lucky ones who rely on some ship fragments or the senior officers or CPOs who have mastered moonwalk. Concentrate on fighting Kisara. Some angry voices sounded from one side. Zephyr turned his head. The majestic light has completely swallowed him up. Kisara has turned into a huge white dragon, spewing out a black beam of light from her mouth, directly hitting Zephyr into the bottom of the sea. A phantom beast. Pelusolino, who was fighting with Enel, felt bitter. Are all these guys monsters? Black explosion destroyer magician. On the other side, Whitebeard has also raised his legal power. The black sphere is rapidly expanding. In the blink of an eye, it has grown to the size of a small hill. After the over-limit mode is turned on, there will be no consumption for casting magic, and the pre-casting will be cancelled. Therefore, Mahad can cast multiple spells in an instant. Although the power will be weakened, it can also exert stronger power under the accumulation of numbers. He can even inject a lot of magic power into the same magic, thus greatly increasing the power of this trick. The huge black ball had already smashed directly towards the heavily bound ball of chains. The ball of chains shattered almost at the same instant, and the Vice Admiral Garp inside rushed out. Then, boom. The violent explosion once again brought a gust of wind that swept across the sky. In this strong wind, the clouds in the sky began to move rapidly. Thick dark clouds have covered the entire sky at some point. Yeah ha 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 ha. Next, then, Enel raised his hands high, the thunder light jumped on his body, and also jumped among the dark clouds in the sky, Wan lay. It began to rain among the clouds. Thunder rain. This is a Marine Vice Admiral who stayed in the air with moonwalk stared blankly at the sky. What? The overwhelming thunder instantly devoured everything on this battlefield. Island of Gods. Ha 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 ha. Did you see that? Guion Rear Admiral. Morgans was rolling on the floor holding his belly. This is the power bestowed by God. The eyes of Guion Rear Admiral, who was still very arrogant before, trembled. How could such a thing happen? That is the Marine fleet led by Mr. Garp and Teacher Zephyr. How could it be so powerless? She doesn't understand. Ha 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 ha. The battle here is already so intense, so surely God's side must be exciting as well. Morgans turned over and sat up, and said with a smile, it's a pity that I can't witness his handsomeness with my own eyes. Where did that guy go? This is also what Guion doesn't understand. Obviously facing the government's crusade, he did not appear on the battlefield. Where did he go? However, the war in the Kongman Sea area should have already begun, right? Morgans rubbed his chin again, muttering to himself, well, there should be nothing to worry about over there. After all, only a few marine branches were dispatched. Empty sea area. Where is that again? Guion doesn't know. But she could probably guess. As Morgan said, maybe another war that Marine will lose. And it is true. When the large marine fleet commanded by Garp and Zephyr was marching towards Alabasta, several nearby marine base warships were also heading towards several countries in the Empty Gate Sea area. Then, naturally not surprisingly, they immediately encountered the attack of the Sun Knight who had been waiting there for a long time. It's really weak. The man floating in the sky flapping his wings of flames flung down a flaming gun indifferently. A warship below exploded instantly. And on the deck of another warship, a werewolf covered in flames and hockey is slaughtering wantonly. This is the fate of being an enemy of God. The werewolf growled. Every time he swung his claws, he was accompanied by flying flesh and blood. Every time he raised his head to the sky and roared, flames spread everywhere. Zero looking for flowers. And the Marines' attacks didn't work against him at all. Neither swords nor guns can penetrate the flames and hockey covering the surface of his body at all. These guys. The colonel of a nearby marine branch in command of this fleet fell down on the deck, his face full of disbelief. What kind of monster is it? It was only natural that he would feel hopeless. At this time, the configuration of the senior knights of the Sun Knights is the Flame of Destruction, the Skilled Hockey, and the Devil Fruit of Zone. The three are superimposed, and if you want to fight these high-level knights, you have to ask the generals of naval headquarters to come over. Coupled with the screams from all directions, it is even more moving. Oh, you are the five elders. You be asterisk 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 D. You be asterisk 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 D did it. Dulin gradually lowered his altitude, looking down at the burning city below. Dulin lowered his height slowly, and looked down at these old men with a smile. Today I'm here to say hello to you. I don't want to start a full-scale war with you for now, so this time the matter ends here. Don't interfere with my affairs anymore. It's beautiful. The flame released by Leviathan has the power to incinerate everything, no matter whether it is rock or brick, whether it is steel or spring water, they are all ignited in an instant. The overwhelming flames fell from the sky and fell on Mariajoy like a great flood that destroyed the world. A roar came from below. Dulin lowered his head. On the top of the tallest building in the center of the city, 5 old men looked up at him angrily under the guard of a group of men in white robes. Mariajoy. The flames covered the huge area centered on Pangu City. Whether it was the resplendent square or the gathering place of celestial dragons in the distance, the falling flames instantly ignited them all. The reaction of the 5 elders was this. Without any accidents, the marine fleet that came to crusade against these countries was completely wiped out in a short period of time, without even causing any waves at all. Mariajoy was lit. Along the streets of the city, the flames began to rush like a river, gradually spreading to more distant places. For, or against, kill him. Chapter 176 Unscrupulous. Go find him. As the holders of the highest power in the world, the people who control this huge world government, the 5 elders are of course very good at controlling their emotions. But this time the situation is completely different. Mariajoy has been wrecked. The flames were raging everywhere. Standing on the top of Pangu City, all that could be seen was the raging flames. The 5 elders were so angry that the 3 corpses jumped up. When did Mariajoy suffer such devastation? When did the world government suffer such a provocation? How could this be asterisk 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 D be allowed to talk nonsense in front of them? Kill him. All self-cultivation and composure were thrown away at this moment, and the 5 elders only thought of one thing at this moment. Make this wanton be asterisk 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 D pay. Almost at the moment when the 5 elders gave the order, the white-robed man who was guarding them, 7:30, flew towards Dulin like lightning. Dulin looked indifferent, without any reaction. Then, the moment the white-robed people approached, the flame exploded instantly. Dominate. Destroy. Trial. The 3 abilities are strengthened at the same time, and the golden flame instantly possesses the power to incinerate everything. Before they could even scream, the people in white robes who rushed into the flames were completely burned to death. The flames continued to spread, sweeping towards the 5 elders directly, trying to incinerate them as well. Well, the raging flames brought even more astonishing heat, and the 5 elders groaned and backed away in horror. Fortunately, the white-robed man who had been guarding them stood in front of them in time, flicked his long sleeves, and stopped the raging flames. Dulin glanced at this guy with some surprise. This guy is quite powerful. The strength is not at the same level as the CPO just now. Strongest shield. Your Excellency 5 elders, please stay away from this fellow. The white-robed man's voice was as solemn as if he could squeeze out a handful of water. This guy is an out-and-out monster. The 5 elders also realized how dangerous it was to appear in front of this guy in person. Their expressions changed and they stepped back. This guy in front of him is really an unscrupulous lunatic. Pretending to be in front of him is really going to kill you. Watching their reactions, Dulin smiled softly. Supreme power in the world. Ha, it's ridiculous. In this world, power always comes from strength. Only the strongest can have the highest power. 0. I leave it to you. The 5 elders stepped back, ordering at the same time. Yes, the man in white robe they called 0 had already ejected towards Dulin. The corner of Dulin's mouth twitched, and a raging flame ignited instantly on his body. His whole body turned into a yellow and red flame. Then with just a flick of his hand, Long Huolong rushed out. The white-robed man was clearly aware of the danger of this move, and his body flickered to avoid it. But pointless. Judgment endowed this hit with the ability to hit. In the next second, the flame dragon pierced the body of the white-robed man. The man who was supposed to have a steel-like will screamed at this moment. He suddenly fell from the sky and landed on the roof, and the golden flames that had been spreading enveloped him again. Now he can only roll on the ground. 0. The 5 elders were shocked. How could such a thing happen? 0. This man is the leader of the CPO, Celestial Dragon's strongest shield. In short, that's it, don't interfere with my affairs in the future. Du Lin nodded slightly, otherwise, I might have to come to Mariajoy as a guest often. The 5 elders were furious almost subconsciously. Isn't this B***** D too arrogant? Who does he think he is? Where does he think he is talking nonsense? B. The 5 elders were completely afraid to speak. This guy is too dangerous. Their bodies were even trembling slightly, and it seemed that they were only one step away from death. Du Lin noticed their suffocated expressions of fear, so he smiled lightly. Then, this is your reward for violating the will of the gods, don't die. With a flick of the hand, the fireball fell. Yellow and red flames exploded. Wow, the 5 elders were also affected by the spreading flames. Looking forward to our next meeting. Du Lin chuckled. In the next instant, he had disappeared directly into Mariajoy. The purpose of coming here today has been achieved. Came to say hello to the world government, and the celestial dragons, and the 5 elders, and left some flying thunder god stamps in Mariajoy along the way. Then you can go back. He was already in the over-limit mode, and then flying thunder god was activated, but in the next instant, Du Lin had already returned to the island of gods. God, are you back? Morgans was the first to notice his return, and immediately said excitedly, the battle is now at its height. Oh, Du Lin calmly watched the scene projected by the phone bug. In the sky, Zhao Hade is confronting the hero Garp. In the lower midair, Black Arm Zephyr and Kisara also fought fiercely. And between these two battlefields, Enel and Pelusalino were constantly entangled and confronted. It was really lively. Looks like I'm coming back just in time. Du Lin chuckled. So your goal has been fully achieved. Morgans couldn't help but get excited. Although I don't know what God wants to do, I still know his purpose. Since I went to that place, it must be super big news. Du Lin didn't answer, just smiled, but that was enough to get Morgans excited. What the hell did you do? The voice of Guion, who had been silent at 3.5 for a long time, was trembling. She knew that Du Lin must have done something bad, but what exactly was it? Du Lin smiled, I just went to say hello to the government. Mariajoy. The flames of Pangu City had been extinguished, and a black shadow stood quietly on the top of the building, looking down at the city that was still burning. I'm sorry, Master I am. The 5 elders knelt behind him respectively, their voices were weak and their bodies trembling. I disturbed your peace, and I need you to save us. Silence. They were answered by a long silence. It wasn't until a while later, when the 5 elders were nearly fainting from their injuries, that they heard the sound. Go and find him. Chapter 177 Anticlimactic. Mariajoy is almost in ruins. Of course, the raging flames had already been extinguished long ago. Although the flame created by Leviathan has the ability to attach to any substance and burn. But after losing Du Lin's energy supply, the burning didn't last long. Coupled with the assistance of the legions stationed around the city to put out the fire, although there were still some sporadic flames at this time, they were basically extinguished. But even so, Mariajoy was almost reduced to ruins. The once prosperous palaces and buildings were turned into ruins, and this pure white city was already scorched black. To make matters worse, the celestial dragons, known as the race of gods, also suffered heavy losses. The raging flames are not like the civilians on the sea who fear the power of the celestial dragons and shy away from them. Even with the protection of the Mariajoy army and the CP system, the celestial dragons still lost a lot. Tens of thousands of Wylong died in this fire. The number of other dead and wounded soldiers guarding slaves is even more numerous. Damn it. On the top of Pangu City, the trembling 5 elders looked down on this devastated city, each of them clenched their fists, that be ************. Mariajoy has been built for 800 years, but when was it damaged like this? Not to mention the damage done to the celestial dragons. The face of the world government was almost trampled into the mud. Just like Lord I.M. said. Look for it. A 5 elders said angrily. Marine, CP, allied countries, activate all possible news channels, find that guy as soon as possible. This is the most troublesome place. No idea where that guy is at all. It was thought he occupied Wanokuni's with bullet. But then the news came back from the CP system that there were 10 bullets in Song who occupied Wanokuni. That guy wasn't there at all. If you can't find the whereabouts of that guy, then it's pointless to say more. As he said, he could still come to Mariajoy countless times. The government can't hide its whereabouts like that guy. So now there is a very embarrassing reality. One of the 5 elders sighed, after all, there doesn't seem to be anything we can do until we find that guy's lair. Or should I say, dare not do anything. If there is a slight change, that guy may act again. Then can we take advantage of this guy's threat? Another 5 elders asked tentatively, lead that guy to Mariajoy again, and ask Master I.M. to use that thing. What nonsense, do you want to blow up Mariajoy too? And that guy isn't an idiot either. Apart from Mariajoy, he can attack other places, such as blowing up marine bases. The 5 elders who spoke just now pursed their lips and fell silent. With that guy's mobility and destructive power, he can slowly and single-handedly wipe out all the countries under the world government. ... What a formidable opponent. Quote. This kind of thing has to be admitted. Anyway, contact Garp and them, and end this war quickly. Another 5 elders sighs, when did we ever have such a humiliating moment? Yes, humiliation. This war can only usher in failure. Island of Gods. It's almost over. Du Lin looked at the image projected from the phone and said the same. Let me fuel them. Dominate. The ability to dominate is the ability to control and intensify all that comes into contact with it. Du Lin can dominate all his subordinates through his fire, and of course he can also strengthen them. So, Alabasta offshore. Oh, the power is pouring out. Uroge, who had turned into a giant and flew in the sky with the huge green flame wings behind his back, laughed loudly. I can clearly feel the power gushing out from the depths of my body. God, it's you who gave us the power, right? Also feeling empowered are others on the battlefield. Boom. It was another whip-leg confrontation. Pelusilino turned into light and flew backwards. What happened? He couldn't help but exclaimed, did your strength become stronger? Do you think Lousy will answer you? Judgment Thunder. Enel once again unleashed a thunderbolt that was sure to hit, blowing Pelusilino out again. What exactly is going on? Black Arm Zephyr was a little out of breath. The power of the girl in front of him has become stronger, almost to the point of overwhelming him. It seems that God has gone back, so. Mahad said so to himself. His fighting is much easier than his companions, he just keeps maintaining the protective shield, and then defends and counterattacks. No matter how angry the marine hero was, he still couldn't touch Mahad even once. But Mahad's matter is not easy. The over-limit mode has been turned off, and he is fighting against Garp with his own magic power. The pressure is actually very high. But with the blessing of God's power, Mahad once again turned on the overrun mode. Black Explosion Destroyer Magician. A large number of black magic 197 balls condensed in Mahad's body, and then smashed towards the hero Garp with the force of wind and thunder. The suits on the hero Marine are all broken, and there are many scars on his body. But his fighting spirit is still high. Hockey's fists entwined with the tyrannical Hockey continued to bombard, blasting one magic ball after another abruptly. That's when. Sorry, but it seems like this is not the time to answer the phone. Mr. Kong. Pelusilino said in surprise, is there any support? Pelusilino, who was being chased by Enel, heard the voice of the phone bug. This is, admit defeat. Blue. Pelusilino sighed. The voice of Marshal Marine on the other end of the phone was very low, notify Garp and Zephyr to retreat. Pelusilino's eyes gradually widened. The voice on the other end of the phone was very familiar. Mr. Garp, Mr. Zephyr, Mr. Sora called, retreat. In his busy schedule, he took out his phone and reconnected. Pelusilino licked his lips, feeling a little dazed for a moment. Marine, has there ever been a time like this before? What is the origin of the opponent this time? Where is the support from? Chapter 178 Shock the World. Hearing Pelusilino's voice, both Garp and Zephyr were taken aback. Retreat. Black Arm Zephyr, who was facing Kisara head-on, was even hit directly by Kisara's flying kick because of some confusion, and the whole person was sent flying. How could you just retreat like this? Black Arm Zephyr couldn't figure it out. What a great sacrifice has been made. A marine fleet of tens of thousands of people, they are the only ones surviving at this time. If we retreat now, wouldn't all the sacrifices be in vain? Want to retreat? How can it be so easy? Enel sneered and pressed his right hand down. In the dark clouds in the sky, the brilliant thunder light had started to jump again, and in the next moment it turned into a rainstorm and fell towards the 3 people in the sea house at this time. Kisara Energy Cannon. The white dragon girl also threw a huge energy cannon without hesitation. Haifa, who was kicked flying and still spurting blood from his mouth, could only deal with it in embarrassment. Retreat. At this time, the only one who didn't fall into a big disadvantage on the scene, the hero Garp roared angrily. Can't win. He is very clear about the current situation. The strength of this group of people is terrifying. Even though he thought he would not lose to anyone, the gap in numbers began to gradually widen at this time. Zephyr. Don't be willful. Black Arm Zephyr, who was blown away by Kisara's energy cannon for a distance, gritted his teeth. Although Garp, the old B****************, D, is joking most of the time, when he gets serious, no one is more trustworthy than him. If so, retreat. Without any hesitation, Zephyr used Moonwalk to step on the air and flew towards the distance in an instant. Along with him is the hero Garp. The Marine 6 styles of these 2 people have practiced to the point of perfection, there is no difference between running in the sky and walking on the ground, and the speed is jaw-dropping. Don't even think about leaving. Pipe! Quote. Sarah was the first to catch up. Don't try to get in the way. At this time a man stood up. Pelusilino flickered and stood in front of him, and in the next moment, light spots filled the sky. Stay out of the way. Sarah snorted coldly, and directly released an incomparably dazzling light. Although it was also light, Pelusilino's laser shattered instantly after touching Kisara's destructive light. Simply ignoring Pelusilino, Kisara flew out and kept chasing him. Trouble, Mr. Garp, Mr. Zephyr, I can't seem to stop them. Pelusilino scratched his hair, his face full of helplessness. Also in pursuit were Enel and Mahad. Only the 2 of them were able to catch up, and the speed of the others was too slow to keep up. The three escaped, and the three pursued, and the battlefield was pulled far away in an instant. Ha 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 ha, I'm really not good at speed. Yoroj laughed with half helplessness and half sigh. Having grown to such a state, no matter what kind of enemy he faces, he will not be afraid. But if you can't catch up, there's no way. However, the three who pursued them did not get any results. After receiving the boost, Enel undoubtedly possessed enough power to suppress Pelusolino. However, the mobility of both sides was reaching its limit, Pelusolino was even ahead, and their battle could not be decided at all. The strength of Garp and Zephyr is beyond doubt. They are absolute hexagonal powerhouses without any shortcomings. Even facing the pursuit of Mahad and Kisara, they can still retreat calmly. There's no end to this. Mahad shook his head helplessly. He looked at the figure in front of him who was still rushing forward at high speed. That's all for now, he said. There's no need to go on the chase, Kisara, Enel. If you continue to chase, there will be no results. Tisk, is that the end? The thunder condensed on the back of the cursed dragon. Enel smacked his lips in displeasure. This is a very good opportunity. Unless God sends support, the three of us won't be able to stop them. Mahad was very calm. So, my God, Enel was very puzzled. Why not send support over? Even if you don't want to fight yourself, just let Bullet and Moria come over, then the situation of this war is completely doomed. But this is God's will, Enel will not question it, and cannot change it. All he can do is accept. Since God doesn't care about this war, there is indeed no need to pursue it forcefully. Damn it, only Kisara was annoyed and continuously released light waves to bombard the sea surface. After finally meeting a strong opponent, it ended without a winner. How could Kisara be willing in her heart? Contact God and report the news to him. Mahad said so, but in the next second, the scenery in front of them suddenly changed. Well done, my knights. A calm and gentle voice sounded. They had already returned to the island of the gods, to the square outside the temple, and the gods were smiling at them. God, Mahad and Enel immediately knelt down. Yoroj and Fram, who appeared behind them, also knelt down at the same time, along with the knights of the gods. God, this guy Mahad is super annoying. It looks very cute. The thing I've been waiting for is finally here. Yes, Morgans shuddered with excitement. Only the white dragon girl ran to Dulin to complain angrily. When I was happy, I suddenly said that the battle is over. The aggrieved white dragon girl could only poke her mouth and nod her head. She was no longer curious about how Dulin was able to bring so many people from Alabasta to Sky Island in an instant. Rear Admiral Dion, who was still immersed in a state of shock at this moment, looked numb. Next, in his eyes, there is only one opponent left in this world, and that is the mysterious I Am. I'm going to tell the sea about our arrival. Go tell the world that a new age is coming. Finally able to make the whole world boil. Marine's defeat this time was enough to make her unbelievably frustrated. Dulin raised his hand and rubbed Kisara's little head, and said with a smile, it's just some guys who don't need to pay too much attention to it. I didn't kill them this time, and it will be the same next time. Even characters like the hero Garp Black Arm Zephyr, Dulin doesn't Zhao care much about them anymore. Dulin looked at that Morgans, just inform the world. Do not mind. Chapter 179. The World That Explodes. Naval Headquarters. The top floor of the towering headquarters building. Marshal of Naval Headquarters, the man standing on top of hundreds of thousands of Marines all over the world, Kong is sitting quietly on his large office chair at this moment. His straight waist, which used to stay at any time in the past, has softened today, and his robust body is revealing a sense of decadence and decay at this moment, and the whole person is leaning on the back of the chair. Eye corners and mouth Kakuzu in the drop. Sitting on the sofa opposite the desk is the Chief Staff Officer of the headquarters, Suru Vice Admiral. The Marine's mind was also silent at this time, with lowered eyebrows. In the end, only the three of us survived. Quote. The voice came from the mouth of the phone placed on the empty table. That's the voice of Marine Chief Instructor Black Arm Zephyr, quite deep and dignified. Others were all killed in battle, and we also tried our best to escape before we finally escaped. The phone bug has a bandage around its head, which doesn't mean the phone bug is injured, it just projects the person on the other end of the line who used to talk. Quote. There was still a long silence in the office. Brother Sora, until Black Arm Zephyr on the other end of the phone spoke in surprise. I see, come back. Marshal Kong sighed 543 slowly, come back first. Understood. The phone bug nodded slowly, the strength of that group is too exaggerated, even the guy who claims to be a god didn't take action himself. If we really want to defeat them, we need to use more power. I think Sora-san, you can do it yourself, or even get Sakazuki and Kuzan to act together. Marshal Sora raised his head and caught sight of Crane Vice Admiral who was sitting across from him. The two sighed at the same time. Then Marshal Kong said, there should be no second action in a short time. Quote. What? Zephyr on the other end of the phone was stunned for a moment, and then hurriedly asked, Brother Kong, what did you say? When you guys fought those guys in Alabasta, that guy himself went to Mariajoy. Sora said. Marie Joy's. The person on the phone has changed, and the bandage on the phone bug's body has also changed. It is the hero Garp, he went to Mariajoy. What is that guy doing there? He attacked Mariajoy. Picking up the phone bug on the table with one hand, Crane Vice Admiral said softly, the fire engulfed the entire White Town, and now almost the entire Mariajoy has been turned into scorched earth, tens of thousands of celestial dragons died, and the government center crashed directly. What? Two consecutive exclamations. Black Arm Zephyr and Hero Garp are incredible at the same time. The leaders of the CPO were severely injured by him, and even the 5 elders were almost killed. Marshal Kong sighed, the world government has suffered an unprecedented blow. That guy came too fast and left too fast, and the Knights of God didn't even have time to react. The two people on the opposite side of the phone bug fell silent. How could such a thing happen? That's Mariajoy. The city above the clouds, the center of the world government. A city that has never been invaded even once in 800 years. Then, Brother Kong, what do you mean by saying that there will be no second action for the time being? Zephyr on the other end of the phone was a little puzzled. He did such a thing, shouldn't he be punished immediately? The guy went to Mariajoy to threaten the government. Air Marshal rubbed his forehead, he said, and if he interfered with his actions again, he would go to Mariajoy again. What? Exclaimed again. How can you be so arrogant? So, Zephyr's voice was very bitter, he threatened the government. Because there is no way to confirm the whereabouts of that guy. Crane Vice Admiral added, with the power of a guy who can destroy a city with a mere gesture, the government cannot ignore his threat. Mariajoy cannot afford a second attack. And it is impossible for the government BDBC to keep their centers in the same anonymity. Then there was an unspeakable silence. So, it was not until a long time later that Zephyr's voice came from the phone bug, can we just stand still? At least until their lair is discovered. Marshal Kong leaned weakly on the recliner. Blindly launching an attack without being able to uproot the source may be able to take back the country occupied by the Illuminati, but it will only get crazy revenge from the other party. It's pointless. So, the people on this end of the phone and the people on the other end of the phone were silent. The world was shaken. The news birds of the World Economic News Agency are flying all over the world, and they are constantly flying newspapers like snowflakes to every corner of the world. Everyone who got the newspaper was deeply shocked by the news published on it the first time they saw the newspaper. The Illuminati. The name spread across the sea in the shortest possible time. It only took one day to go from being unknown to being famous in heaven and hell. What is published in the newspaper is a manifesto from the God-tier officer of the Illuminati. The God-tier officer calls himself Mahad, the supreme commander of the Illuminati, and a God-tier officer who serves God. He first talked about the origin of the Illuminati. It is also the first time I know that such a war took place in the coastal waters of Alabasta. If it is simply a nonsensical declaration, people will certainly not react. God's punishment has still landed on Mariajoy, and the city above the clouds has turned into ruins. Only then did people know that this was an organization formed by a group of believers who believed in the God of the Sun. But the newspapers also published a lot of photos. Photos of a warship exploding, a marine dying, a hero Garp fighting a black arm Zephyr, and a burning Mariajoy. After a brief introduction to the teachings, today's focus appears. The God-tier officer solemnly stated in the manifesto that this is a provocation to the dignity of the gods by the marine and world government. So God sent divine punishment. The world was certainly shaken. The marine fleet was completely wiped out, and only Garp the Fist, Black Lung, and Posolino survived. It was the first time I knew that someone dared to attack Mariajoy and even destroyed that city. The God-tier official said at the end of the manifesto that all those who are enemies of God will be punished by God. Is there any reason people shouldn't be shocked by it? The article describes a battle that took place off the coast of Alabasta. Afterwards, the light of God will gradually cover the entire sea, and all those who chase the light can join the Illuminati Society and become a member of the Light Chasers. This is the first time that people know that there is still an organization called the Illuminati in this world. The whole world boiled in an instant, and the two words Zhong, the Illuminati and the Sun God, became familiar to the elderly and children. Chapter 180 Great Expansion. The Illuminati has become the most popular word in the sea these days. After the World Economic News Agency published the manifesto, other newspapers followed suit. Some newspapers even went to Alabasta to interview Priest Marty. Priest Marty told the reporter in detail all the teachings of the Illuminati. It emphasizes that if you have enough faith in the gods, you will be able to go deep into the kingdom of gods after death, follow the gods and live forever together. The discussion about the Illuminati has naturally become a craze. Who could not be curious about such an organization? They defeated the Grand Fleet led by Marine heroes and Marine's predecessor Admiral, and set the entire Mariajoy on fire. Only then did people know that the man who manipulated the thunder was actually a knight seated by the god believed by the Illuminati. And that Lunaria boy is even more simply a god himself. They even directly declared war on the world government. They said they would spread the glory of God all over the world. This is something that has never happened before. Whether it was the Invincible Rocks pirate or the Roger pirates who dominated the Grand Line, although they were the overlords of the era, they never had the intention of going to war with the world government. World government quickly responded to this. Also published in World Economic News. Government spokespersons denounced the Illuminati as an evil organization in newspapers. The god they believe in is just an extreme terrorist. The attack on Mariajoy resulted in the deaths of many innocent people, not to mention the deaths of many celestial dragons. The government stated that they will definitely fight the evil Illuminati to the end until they are completely wiped out. At the same time, I also call on all righteous people in the world to stand up and fight against them. Then, of course, comes the usual arrest warrant link. All the knights of God who participated in the war this time were wanted. Magician Mahad, offering a bounty of 250 million Baileys. Bai Longchi Sarah, offering a bounty of 2 billion Baileys. Black Thunder Enel, offering a bounty of 1.3 billion Baileys. Masochist Uroj, Shah bounty 100 million Bailey. Even Fram had a bounty, and was hung up for 500 million. Apart from Enel, Mahadekasara and Uroj are the first bounties offered. But Uroj, who had the lowest bounty among the three, also directly equaled the amount when Dulin was offered the bounty for the first time. Mahad and Kasara are even more exaggerated. However, compared with the strength shown by the two of them, it actually seems a bit too little. The size of the Cadres is already so exaggerated, and Dulin's bounty has directly risen to a terrifying level. 5 billion. New World, Back Sea Area, on the Moby DK. Marco, the Phoenix, couldn't help exclaiming loudly, "Are you kidding? The amount of reward has already surpassed the old man." The world government has been established for 800 years, and it is unknown how many arrest warrants have been issued during these 800 years. But among the vast sea of superstar wanted orders, there is only one man with a reward of more than 5 billion. That is the One Piece Roger. He is the highest peak in the history of pirates in the true sense. He has achieved unprecedented feats and won unprecedented rewards. But now there is actually a second guy who has won the bounty amount almost shoulder to shoulder with him. After all, this guy almost destroyed the entire Mariajoy. Foil Vista's eyes were a bit complicated. He killed a lot of celestial dragons, let alone 5 billion for doing such a thing. Even if the government offered him a reward of 10 billion, I don't think it's an exaggeration. Quote. Whitebeard's expression was indifferent, but his eyes were also slightly dignified. After all, he and the guy called God are also enemies. His sworn brother Kazuki Odin died because of him. Thief, ha ha ha, but now that guy is going to be unlucky, right? A little black fat man noticed that the atmosphere on the deck was a bit dignified, so he laughed and joked, after doing such a thing, the government will definitely not let it go. Of course they will be killed next time. But, someone said softly, with the strength of that group of people, there shouldn't be any fear of the world government. There was silence on deck. Yes, the god-tier officers and knights under his command have the strength to stand up to the hero Garp and the Black Arm Zephyr, let alone the god. So, silence. Asking for flowers. Cake Island. Charlotte Linlin also fell into silence. After a long time, she shook her head. Don't worry about those people, let them have fun with the world government. In order to collect the blood of the Lunaria clan, it would be too much to be worth the loss to be hostile to those people. However, compared with Charlotte Linlin, the other person's attitude is completely opposite. Ooh, so interesting guy. Somewhere in the new world, the monster was laughing loudly, thinking about it, it would be nice to die by that guy's hands. What an enviable B****************. D. What an exciting war. Next time, Lousy must be involved. 0. North Blue, an island. She. A man with blonde hair soaring to the sky stood in front of the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, chattering and laughing. Is this the new era? Even the godly place standing tall on the end was trampled into the mud. Island of gods, in the temple. No need to do such boring things, M. The blood in my whole body is trembling. I can't wait to know what will happen next. Quote. Mahad came out and bowed his knees. Since there is no need to hide now, let's hurry up. God. Who is the real God? Quickly let Lousy see. Yes, Du Lin said lazily. He knelt down on one knee and asked excitedly, let's launch another war against those scum. This time, we must let them understand, what will happen to you, the electric criminal. Du Lin was leaning on the throne and flipping through the newspaper. God. Du Lin closed the newspaper casually, Mahad. Below him, Enel was furious at this moment. How dare you set up a bounty for God? This group of scum. I really don't have a long memory. He didn't respond to the 5 billion bounty offered. There is no doubt that the whole world is seething with the Illuminati and their gods. Mahad nodded. Then I will let the priests start to act. So, what follows is a vigorous expansion of the king. Chapter 181 The Illuminati in Action. The world is still in violent shock at this time. But at this time, the Illuminati has already started to act. Alabasta, the capital, Albana. The vibe of the city was getting a little weird at this point. On the square outside the palace, Priest Marty is preaching. Almost half of the residents of Albana gathered here, quietly listening to this kind priest slowly explaining the teachings of the Illuminati and the greatness of the sun god. It's not that the residents of this city have recognized the Illuminati so much at this time, it is really a request of the new government, and it is difficult for the people to refuse. In fact, the residents of Alabasta have a somewhat subtle attitude towards the Illuminati. The world government bluntly pointed out in the newspaper that the previous rebellion in Alabasta was led by the Illuminati, and Crocodile was just their scapegoat. 330 was immediately refuted by the Illuminati, saying that it was just an excuse by the world government to shirk responsibility. The people of Alabasta don't know which side is correct, but the existence of the Illuminati does seem a bit ambiguous. After all, the new government is now vigorously supporting the Illuminati, and the priests have been stationed in various cities in this country to preach at the same time. It's really hard not to make the people of Alabasta suspicious. However, doubt is one thing, and action is another. After all, the priests of the Illuminati hold special powers. The people in Albana looked at Marty with curiosity and expectation. The rhetoric of the priests is that the gods endowed them with great power. In addition to the destructive fire used to fight, there is also the fire used to heal. It is said to be a miraculous flame that can heal any disease or wound. Who can say no to such power? After all, in life, injuries and illnesses are also common things. That's all for today's sermon. Marty closed the scriptures in his hand, and looked down at the densely packed Albanese people below, with a gentle smile on his lips. To thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come here. Next, let our priests carry out a healing activity voluntarily. The people in the square instantly became agitated, and many people began to squeeze forward excitedly. Just for this, Marty smiled even brighter as he watched the excited people. For those who have truly mastered the power bestowed by God, missionary work will of course be quite easy. Even the upper-class people in various countries have easily fallen into the embrace of God, let alone these ordinary people. While explaining the doctrine to the people, show them the power bestowed by God. When they truly realize the power possessed by God, they can't help but worship in their hearts. The priests began to act. Everyone line up. Come one by one. Bell is already 14 years old this year, and he is already a handsome boy. As one of the first batch of members of the Illuminati, it was his first time to officially carry out activities as a priest. After all, he was too young before, and the uncles and aunts of the Illuminati did not want him to risk his life. But it doesn't matter now. At least in Alabasta there is no longer a threat. Master Priest, please save my child. An anxious mother approached Bell with her young child in her arms. Bell smiled gently, and on his raised right hand, a yellow flame had already begun to bloom. Now time is limited, all we can do is simple treatment. He said to the mother seriously, if you want to be completely cured, it's best to go to the temple later. Yes, wish. The mother nodded respectfully. Tears of joy were already involuntarily in his eyes. The child's brows, which had been furrowed because of his illness, were now stretched out amidst the flames. Great God, great God. The mother couldn't help but pray again and again. Bell chuckled. He could understand the mother's thoughts, and it was God who appeared and saved his mother back then. He could well understand the feeling of being rescued from a desperate situation. They are all brought by God. He looked up at the back of the mother, those people who were queuing up with anxious and excited expressions on their faces. God's light will soon spread all over this country, right? The same happened in several other cities in Alabasta besides Albana. Priests are no longer hiding behind the scenes, but are walking in the downtown area majestically, spreading the glory of God like the people of this country. Even apart from Alabasta, the same happened in other countries in the nearby seas. But unlike Alabasta, the leaders of these countries are often unaware that they have gods lurking. The Kingdom of Russell, a government union state near Alabasta. Hey, what are you bastards doing? His Majesty the King, who was riding on a tall horse, rushed to the central square of the capital angrily. He suddenly heard that the priests of the Illuminati were actually preaching in his country and in his royal city. As a loyal supporter of world government, how could he allow such a thing? His Majesty's temper dissipated in the next instant. He was astonished to see that his confidants, the pillars supporting the country, were all surrounded by that priest at this moment. Do you want God's punishment to come to this country? 3.9 His Majesty the King's body froze instantly. What are you doing? His voice was almost trembling. That is, eternal life. The priest smiled at him. Welcome, my brother, welcome to become a member of the Light Chaser. Isn't that good, Your Majesty? The king's eyes widened. When exactly such a thing will happen? He whispered in the king's ear, in this way, our country can also be protected, and if we are favored by God, we can enter his kingdom and enjoy eternal joy. He nodded heavily, almost gnashing his teeth. His Adam's apple was rolling up and down. This situation is happening everywhere. The guy who has always been very loyal to him, the prime minister of this country, looked at him indifferently at this moment. Do you want to be an enemy of the Illuminati and God? If he refuses, not only this country, but his life will come to an end, right? What are you doing, Your Majesty? The Admiral Army of the Commander Wang Guoyan walked over with a smile. It is better to offer faith to God than to pay heavy heavenly gold. And finally, great. Chapter 182 The Drum Kingdom. 2 Doctors. Island of Gods. Mahad is reporting to Du Lin. The waters around Alabasta have been pacified. His Excellency the God-tier officer of the Illuminati calmly reported, the only country where armed conflict occurred was the Kingdom of Slud. The king is a stubborn world government loyalist, and his execution has now been completed. It's amazing. Du Lin said lazily, does even the world government have diehards? What about the level of dominance of the world government? Even if it's worse, it's still the worst one. After all, it is still an organization that engages in slavery, and it does its best to squeeze the affiliated countries under its banner. Heavenly gold is a heavy burden no matter which government joins the country. Du Lin has always believed that the reason why the world government can rule the world and have so many alliance countries is simply because they have the strongest power, have marines working for them, and can maintain order. But I didn't expect such an organization to actually have stubborn diehards. Guys like you, of course, don't understand. The voice of resentment came from Guion Rear Admiral on the side. After that day's War 13, she fell into a brief collapse, but soon recovered. After all, she is a woman who can become admiral's candidate in the future, and she is first class in terms of strength and mentality. She still made no secret of her anger. So Du Lin hasn't lost interest in her yet. Among a group of docile women, occasionally there is a rebellious one, doesn't it also have a special flavor? Du Lin somewhat understands the thoughts of those domineering CEOs in the past decadent idol dramas. At this moment, Dion Rear Admiral is speaking impassionedly, no matter when, no matter who the opponent is, people's pursuit of justice will never stop. Temporary victory means nothing. Who do you think your opponent is? All the people in the world who want justice. Du Lin froze for a moment. Then he couldn't help but took Ms. Rear Admiral over and kissed her deeply on her red lips. So cute. The expansion of the Illuminati continues. In addition to those countries that already have priests lurking, those countries that have not been covered for the time being have also ushered in the glory of the sun at this time. Drum Kingdom. This country is not very vast, and the domestic population is not large, but it has an extraordinary reputation all over the world. Drum Kingdom is a world-renowned medical country. This country covered by ice and snow all year round has the best doctors in the world. And today, someone came to this country. The palace of the magnetic Drum Kingdom is located at the top of a huge pillar-like mountain, and is connected to the ground by a cable car. At this time, at the top of the mountain, the soldiers guarding the gate of the palace widened their eyes in astonishment. A person with flapping wings slowly landed in the sky, and finally landed in front of the gate of the palace. You are. Cold sweat was all over the soldiers' foreheads in an instant. Flame wings extending from the back, and a robe with sun patterns on his body. People with this ability and this kind of attire have already become famous all over the world during this period of time. The Illuminati. This group of people actually came to their country. Looking at the terrified soldiers, one of the priests who came to this country, Tritter, smiled lightly. It seems that it really brought a lot of pressure to them. After finishing the missionary work on the island that was transported to the White Sea, Tritter started to act again. The destination this time is this country of doctors. Although this country is not very powerful, it has extraordinary medical power. The god-tier officials paid more attention to this place, so Tritter came here in person. It is worth mentioning that Priest Tritter, the captain of the medical team at the time, was already the number 2 figure in the Illuminati. The great sun god also bestowed on him the flame of destruction, making him the only existence who has mastered 2 kinds of flames besides the knights of the gods. Let your king come out. Tritter smiled and said, we need to talk to him. Quote. Exclamation mark. Quote. The reaction of the soldiers was frightening, and they ran into the palace like a shit. Soon, groups of soldiers ran out from the palace, they almost trembled and surrounded Tritter and the others. Then, from the gate of the palace, a middle-aged man wearing a heavy costume and a crown stumbled out. Behind him was a young man wearing green armor with a shovel-like blade on his back. At the gate, there was a chunky kid with a runny nose looking out. I am the king of this country. The middle-aged king was a little out of breath, and looked at Tritter and the others cautiously. Everyone of the Illuminati, what are your responsibilities? Tritter smiled and said, next we hope to preach in this country, and I hope you can cooperate with us. His Majesty the king was dumbfounded. Does this mean to take his country? His whole body was shaking. This group of people is an existence that even the Marine and world government can't do anything about. Shouldn't you refuse? Tritter smiled brightly. His Majesty the king swallowed. This country is really small. After all, it is a winter island covered with ice and snow all year round. There are no products on the island, so the total number of residents is only tens of thousands. There is not even a decent city on the island, and it is composed of many villages, large and small. Everyone, my name is Tritt, I am a priest from the Illuminati, serving God. Tritter is very calm. For him, this is already a small scene. Heh. If possible, I want to see it too. The figure looks quite hot, but the face is extremely old. A middle-aged man squeezed out from the crowd, wearing a top hat, and his hair extended to the left, right, and back. Immediately after hearing that the priests began to preach in various villages, their attitude became curious again. His face was full of eager anticipation at this time. Is your flame really the legendary panacea? It was panic at first. Priests of the Illuminati have come to this country. Therefore, about 2 days later, when Tritter started preaching in the port village again, thousands of villagers came to watch. Tritter was slightly taken aback. Is it really possible to cure all diseases? Then after discovering that there was no bloody conflict, people's attitudes became blank. When he released his wings of flame and flew into the sky, the whole village boiled. People across the country are running around telling each other. However, something unexpected happened this day. Accompanied by a gloomy female voice, a woman also came out from the crowd. What Tritter came to at this time was the largest village in this country, and it was also the port for this country to communicate with the outside world. As the power bestowed by God really greater than the medical skills of doctors. Chapter 183 Fire and Medicine. Shirulik is a doctor. Although everyone who knew him would never admit it, he himself has always thought so. In his early years, he was terminally ill, but he was cured by chance. Since then he has been searching for a panacea that can cure all diseases. He firmly believes that there must be such a thing in the world, which can cure all diseases and make everyone no longer troubled by illness. That is the ultimate pursuit of all doctors. And now the ultimate quest is here. The Illuminati. When he first heard the name, Harulik didn't pay much attention to it. He has no interest in marine pirates or world government. There is only one thing he wants to do, and that is to complete his research on elixir. But later, when the newspaper revealed that the priests of the Illuminati held the flame to cure all diseases, Hiruruk was deeply shocked. Wouldn't that be the panacea he'd been chasing all his life? He was already planning to go to Alabasta to find out, but he didn't expect the priests to come to the Drum Kingdom on their own initiative. After hearing the news, Halulik traveled day and night and arrived at the port village as soon as possible. He wanted to witness the power of the flame with his own eyes. Who are you? Tritter looked at him curiously. My name is Sharulik, a doctor in this country. Halulik anxiously introduced himself. My lifelong dream is a panacea that can cure all diseases. It is the healing flame that you hold. Doctor. Tritter nodded slightly, then we can barely be regarded as colleagues. Doctors heal people's bodies, but they save people's souls. Ha 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 ha, doctor. This guy is just putting money on himself. The fiery old woman held a wine bottle in her hand, and laughed drunkenly. It's just a well-known quack doctor. Hey, Kurha, you be asterisk 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 D. Halulik blushed a little. Unlike him, Kuleha is recognized as the #1 doctor in the Drum Kingdom. However, I'm also curious, what's going on with your flames? A woman who was about 120 years old this year, Dr. Kurha said with great interest. Tritter glanced at the two of them, then nodded slightly. Of course, the power bestowed by God will not be afraid of any tests. The group of doctors has a high reputation in this country. If they can take the initiative to bask in the light of the sun, then it is only a matter of time before the whole country is brought under the rule of God. Then let's show the flame bestowed by God as usual. Exactly. Kuleha chuckled. She turned around and waved towards the crowd. Then a pale man stepped out of the crowd. This guy has a very troublesome disease. I won't say what it is. In short, even my treatment will take a lot of effort. Just use him to show your strength. Tritter nodded lightly. Then look up. This is the power of the gods. He raised his right hand, and yellow flames surged out, enveloping the man in an instant. Well, the pale man's eyes widened instantly, and he couldn't help moaning. Oh, Kurha instantly threw the wine bottle aside. She was obviously 100 years old, but she was as dexterous as a monkey at this moment. She moved directly in front of the man, her hand already inserted into the flames. So warm. It doesn't feel hot at all, just as comfortable as soaking in hot spring water. I'm coming too. Halulik hurried over and put his hands into the flames. Then he couldn't help being shocked. Is this really a flame? How do you feel? Kurha looked at the patient. Very comfortable. The patient murmured, it's very comfortable, and the heavy burden I felt before has completely disappeared now. Kurha pulled out a stethoscope and pressed it on the patient's chest, while holding the patient's wrist with his other hand to check the pulse. Hey, is there really such a thing? Her eyes widened, and her condition is rapidly improving. So, tears even flowed from Xylulu's eyes at this moment. It's true. It's really a panacea. Kurha couldn't help but nodded in a daze. She was a little dazed. With these priests and these flames, what is the point of these doctors? Very good. At this time, she heard the excited voice of Halulik. In this way, there will be no more patients in the world. There will be no need for doctors anymore. Kurha's eyes widened, and she couldn't help but glance at Halulik. Is that something this guy can say? Tritter smiled. This is exactly our purpose, the purpose of our enlightenment. Let God's light spread all over the world, so that everyone in the world can enjoy peace and joy. The people around couldn't help but yearn for it. Can I join the Illuminati? Halulik asked impatiently. Sure. Tritter smiled and nodded. Anyone who yearns for the light of the sun is our brother and sister. Then can I also get God's gift? Halulik quickly asked again. Get a flame like yours. Anyone who remains faithful to God can receive God's gift. Tritter was very calm. I'll be very religious. Halulik patted his chest in reassurance. Extensive. Let me teach you how to use your flames more efficiently. Kurha nodded slightly, and then she grinned, but your methods of using it are too extensive. At this time, Kurha suddenly said, what is the principle of your flame healing? Principle. This may be the end of the era of doctors, but doctors can also have other functions. The panacea he has been pursuing all his life is now within sight. I see. No wonder it can cure all diseases. Tritter blinked. Tritter was stunned for a moment, and then subconsciously said that things wrapped in flames would gradually return to their previous state. 171. Halulik was excited, Nuo Hao Jiao, and started dancing. Etc. Tritter was at a loss. What do you mean? The corners of Kareka's mouth twitched. God will never ignore the dedication of any believer. Tritter continued to smile. Panacea. Chapter 184 Government Actions. Isn't that nice? Du Lin was listening to Mahad's report again. His Excellency God Tier told Du Lin about what happened in the Drum Kingdom. The doctors of that country united and said that they wanted to help the gods to explore a more efficient way to use healing flames. Mahathir still attaches great importance to this matter. It can be said that the healing fire is the root cause of the rapid expansion of the Illuminati. It is of course a great thing to be able to make the healing flame work more efficiently. Just let them do it. Du Lin said leisurely, the doctors in Drum Kingdom are the best in the whole world, maybe they can really sum up a set of practical and effective methods. I think so. Mahad said softly, then I'll let Tritter and the others do it. Also, the doctor named Kurha said. He added, if she succeeds, she hopes to receive your gift. No problem. Du Lin stretched lazily, if you can do that kind of thing, of course I won't begrudge you a reward of this level. It's nothing more than a few sparks. For an outstanding talent like Kurha, it's not a bad thing to give her a spark for nothing. Then I'll reply Tritter like this. Mahad nodded slightly. Now that Alabasta is going to the mouth of the Grand Line, have all the countries sent priests there? Du Lin said. Yes. Mahad replied, strictly speaking, it is all the countries in front of the Kongman Sea area. But now it seems that it is a bit too reluctant. The number of priests is limited. Many countries now only have one priest. Although they have sent a few knights to accompany them, the healing flames are not enough. And more small towns or villages don't have the energy to take care of it yet. Enough. Du Lin said casually, there is no need to be too anxious, just follow the steps. The priests are not enough, so let the Sun Knight fill it. Anyway, it has already been put on the bright side now, and faith can be replenished slowly, and the same is true of using force to deter people in the early stage. Mahad nodded respectfully. The other thing is. Du Lin smiled, pay attention to the movements of the world government, they will never let it go like this. Of course, the world government will not let it go, BDBJ, and even said that they have already begun to take action. Mariajoy. The city had already begun rebuilding by this time. Although the city suffered a devastating blow in the previous raids, it is here that Mariajoy has been the center of the world government for 800 years. Changing the place certainly cannot be changed, of course it can only be rebuilt. At this time, in the nearly rebuilt Pangu city, the 5 elders were discussing countermeasures. The priests under that guy's command have already started to act, and all the countries in the area where the Grand Line enters the sea are gradually falling. But we can't even send troops to attack. This is what humiliates the 5 elders the most. Obviously the enemy has started to act recklessly, but they can't even fight back. We can't take action directly, but it doesn't mean we can't use other forces. A 5 elders sneered, the priest under that guy has an exaggerated healing power, I don't believe that the pirates on the sea will not be tempted by it. That's right, let's start guiding this kind of public opinion. Not just pirates, but ambitious people all over the sea, who wouldn't be tempted by this kind of power. That guy will know what kind of chaos the era of great pirates has brought to this world. Quote. In addition, let's grab a few priests to come over and have a look, at least to find out what their power is all about. Agreed, if possible, we should also master similar power. And, by the way, we can also try to find out the location of that guy's lair. Yeah, it's just a pity that the Vegapunk guy is gone, and the only researcher we have left is the guy Sower. 11. Since the quality is not enough, let's use the quantity to make up for it and gather scientists from the sea. In addition, I think CP can try to penetrate the Illuminati and figure out the whereabouts of that guy from the inside. Good idea. As long as you know where that guy's lair is, then all the problems will be fine. As long as he can find the location of that guy's lair, Lord IM can directly dispatch his weapons. Once the shelling goes down, all the problems are no longer a problem. The comprehensive search has already started, so of course the sneaking and infiltration can also be carried out simultaneously. Let Zero start to act immediately, prepare to secretly capture the priest and arrange infiltration candidates. With an order from 5 elders, the CP system immediately started to act. There are a lot of news in the newspapers advocating the flammability of the priests of the Illuminati. What is blown is exaggerated one by one. It is the most basic to say that the flames of the priests have the ability to heal. A lot of news is saying that the priests have the ability to live and die, and even to reverse the flow of time to make people stay young forever. This should be the work of the world government. Morgan saw who was behind the trick at a glance, it should be to guide the ambitious people on the sea to attack our priests. However, even if the government does not guide it, this should be an unavoidable thing. He said, the abilities possessed by the priests are really too powerful. Then send more Sun Knights over there. To spy on their strength, and also want to know their whereabouts from their mouths. You are still very young, your identities are very innocent, no one knows your identities. Yes, his eyebrows on both sides are like sickles, and he wears a top hat on his head, and there is a little white dove standing on the hat. Guys with some real strength, on the contrary, can handle many things. Morgans chuckled. After the last war, the only ones who dare to fight us openly in this sea, apart from the world government, are some rogue pirates who don't know what to do. But the problem is world government. The black suit was lecturing loudly, so, the next task will be entrusted to you to complete. Du Lin didn't know, his guess was completely correct. Maybe they will even think about sending people to infiltrate the Illuminati to spy on information. Take it easy, God. Du Lin chuckled. A deserted island on the Grand Line. All the children and teenagers responded in unison. Du Lin felt very casual about this, let the Knights of the Gods also be prepared, if there is someone who the Sun Knights can't handle, they have to take action. A man in a black suit stood in front of a group of teenagers. Their next move should be aimed at the priests, right? Among them was a child with a slightly special appearance. Chapter 185 The Power of the Sun Knight. It has to be said that the world government's publicity strategy has indeed brought about a very big impact. Around the world, people are already talking about it. Is it really that powerful? Those priests of the Illuminati. Whether it's the world government or they themselves are promoting it like this, it should be pretty much the same. That's really incredible, the ability to heal all diseases and injuries. If only we could get that power. With flames like that, what ship doctor do we need? Yeah, I don't know if we can get the gift of that sun god. Ha 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 ha, it doesn't matter whether he is gifted or not, anyway, these priests have such power. Wouldn't it be good to just kidnap one? Hey, are you crazy? That's the Illuminati, even the world government and Marine can't do anything to them. Ha 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 ha. Don't care about them. Grab a priest and run to the sea. No one can catch me. Such an idea began to germinate in the hearts of many people. Especially the pirates of the Grand Line. The most indispensable thing in this world is the arrogant pirates. No matter who the enemy is, in their narrow worldview, they don't need to have any fear. So of course, many pirates are approaching the sea area under the banner of the Illuminati. Alabasta, the empty gate sea area, and all the islands under the banner of the Illuminati are their goals. And when such a large number of pirates gather together, it's only natural. The pirates are even joining forces now. Morgans grinned and reported to Du Lin, "It's so funny, they think they can fight us if they get together. Now we are swearing that we will wipe out all the islands under our banner and capture all the priests." Du Lin smiled softly, "It is because of such a guy that the sea will never be lonely." God. Enel stood up bravely, "Let me dispatch, let me kill all those who don't know what to do." "No need," Du Lin said leisurely, "let the nearby Sun Knights go there. The pirates should clean it up. As a sea area ruled by gods, it is also infested by pirates, isn't it a bit unreasonable?" "Understood." Fram replied in a deep voice, "I will let the Sun Knights take action to attack all the pirates near the sea area where they are stationed." Du Lin nodded slightly. "Enough. Compared with the miscellaneous fish pirates in the sea, the power possessed by the Sun Knights is simply an insurmountable peak. Even for ordinary knights who have not mastered hockey or obtained man-made devil fruit, their flame ability alone is far from being able to compete with ordinary pirates." Storm Island. This island is the first land in the sea to be illuminated by the light of the sun god. It was the first country to be included under the banner of the Illuminati. At this time, the island was targeted by pirates. On the sea not far from the island, a rather large pirate fleet is speeding towards the island. Ha ha ha, what an exaggerated storm, as expected of Storm Island. On the deck of one of the big ships, the captain of the Haname pirate was laughing loudly. The most special thing about Storm Island is the huge storm that lingers around the island all year round. The sky will always be covered with dark clouds, and the sea will always be howling with strong winds and surging waves. But of course such a storm cannot prevent the pirate fleet from approaching. After all, everyone is a pirate sailing on the Grand Line, how can there be any storm that has not been seen? Storm Isle is very close. It's right there. The pirate captain looked at the faintly visible island at the end of the sea, and couldn't help but raise an excited smile at the corner of his mouth. Healing flame. Being able to treat all diseases and injuries, I am about to get such power. Only. He turned his head and glanced at the other pirate ships that were advancing side by side with his ship. These guys are his competitors. Although everyone agreed to sweep the many islands under the Illuminati together, and kidnap the priests. But if he has already succeeded, how can he accompany them to take risks? There is no doubt that the Illuminati is terrifying. They really defeated the large fleet sent by Marine, and even the hero Garp and the Black Arm Zephyr were defeated. It's a terrifying existence whose bounties of the Cadres add up to more than 10 billion. Although everyone said that they have nothing to be afraid of, but they are not scary, only they know it in their hearts. After really getting the priest, who wants to continue fighting with the Illuminati? The pirate captain is very clear that after today's battle is over, they will probably usher in a cannibalism first. But that's okay. The corners of his mouth were raised high. Isn't what pirates are best at killing each other? Very close. It's very close to that island. It is also very close to the healing flame of the dream. 0. Then, whoosh. Amidst the storm, a ray of light suddenly flickered. Then the next moment, the pirate captain heard a loud noise. A pirate ship next to it exploded. It turned into a huge fireball, emitting intense heat and light on the dark sea. The pirate captain blinked in astonishment. Then he saw a little light flickering under the dark clouds in the distance. Those were the guys flapping the flame wings behind them. Sun, Knight. The pirate captain called out their names with some difficulty. The Illuminati itself has no troops, they only have priests who are responsible for preaching. But there is still a Sun Knights under the command of the Sun God. The pirate captain didn't even realize what was happening when he saw the sky suddenly light up. Flame spears were projected from the sky by the Sun Knights. They are as fast as artillery. No pirate ship can escape at all. The flame gun easily penetrated all the pirate ships at the forefront of the fleet. Then the flames burst. The pirate captain flew into the sky in a trance. He saw that there was already a sea of flames below. Then the pirate ships in the rear also started to explode in series. Oh, so this is the power of the Sun Knights. It's great. Chapter 186 Stussy. The storm continues. The perennial storm in the waters around Storm Island did not stop because of a sudden battle. The dark clouds are still dense, the wind is still howling, and the waves are still raging. But at this time, there were a lot of ship debris on the sea, and there were even a lot of floating corpses. And among these ship fragments and corpses, there are still many pirates calling for help. But of course their cries for help did not attract any attention. At this time, the Sun Knights floating in the sky, flapping their wings of flames, just quietly looked down. They want to make sure all the pirates die in the sea. So they also summon flames to blow up all the larger pieces of the ship. Even the pirates are mostly good at swimming, but in such a storm, after there is no place to stand, 140, what greets them can only be death. After confirming that the pirates were almost dead, the Sun Knights took out their phones and reported the battle situation to their superiors. The situation here on Storm Isle is not isolated. This is not the only group of pirates who want to attack the priests of the Illuminati. Many other islands were attacked by pirates in just a few days. But without any exception, all the attacks did not even touch the mainland of the islands at all. The Sun Knights have wiped out all the pirates in the offshore area. In just a few days, the number of pirates wiped out by the Sun Knights has exceeded 30, and there are still many big pirates with more than 5,000 square meters in gold. When the World Economic News published this fact in the newspaper, the world was once again slightly shocked. It wasn't the Knights of the Gods who did it, but the most ordinary Sun Knights. It's just that ordinary Sun Knights possess this level of power, so one can imagine what kind of power that Sun God possesses. In addition to defending and counter-attacking to eliminate the invading pirates, the Sun Knights are also taking the initiative to attack the pirates in the nearby sea area. Fram has dispatched most of the Sun Knights who were originally stationed in the Sky Sanctuary. Because the priests are not enough, missionaries also need them as a force deterrent. And the pirates who sweep the occupied area also need more Sun Knights to participate. But it doesn't matter, the Sky Sanctuary is the safest place. If this place falls, then the Sun Knights will be useless at all. After the Sun Knights started to act, the pirates in the middle and front of the paradise immediately ushered in a catastrophe. Unlike the Marines, the Sun Knights often operate in teams of several people or even alone, without any need for logistical supplies. Their mobility is completely unmatched by Marine warships. Not to mention flying in the sky, you can have a panoramic view of all the scenes in a large sea area, and all the pirate ships have nowhere to hide. After the pirate ship is found, the Sun Knights will fall from the sky, and then 2 flaming guns will blow the pirate ship to pieces. This is the long hand against the short hand, this is the air force against the marine. The vast majority of pirates are completely helpless in the face of such an attack. So, logically, the sea area covered by the sun's brilliance began to calm down. The world was shocked again. The Illuminati can do something that even Marines can't do. However, the era of great pirates that even Marines can't stop seems to have disappeared from that sea area. So, the existence of the Illuminati is actually a good thing. At least they did bring peace to a piece of sea area. And they don't need those countries to pay heavenly gold. That god is only interested in faith, but doesn't care much about wealth. It is now Sea Circle Calendar 1501, nearly 3 years have passed since the opening of the Great Pirate Era. People in the world have deeply realized the harm brought by the era of great pirates. This is an era of unprecedented chaos, and the raging pirates seem to destroy all the order in the sea. And at this time, a peaceful paradise appeared on the sea. How could people in the world not care about it? Many people have even immigrated to the sea area ruled by the Illuminati. Alabasta, Port City, Rapeseed. Under the bright sunshine, a glamorous woman with brilliant golden hair sat in a coffee shop and stirred the hot coffee in front of her with a teaspoon in an orderly manner. The woman was wearing a pink dress, a white shawl, and a white flowered hat on her head. It looks noble and elegant, but it is full of youth. Her blonde hair grew to her neck, and was slightly curly, revealing a lazy and casual temperament. There was a phone bug in front of her, listening to her voice quietly. There are quite a few ships like this parked in the port now. It's not something you should care about. After the coffee shop was empty, the woman named Stussy sighed leisurely, propped her face with her right hand, and said in a daze. The woman blinked playfully, then hung up the phone. The other people in the coffee shop stood up suddenly, then nodded respectfully and walked out of the coffee shop. Why? A man's dull voice came from the other side of the phone. Just do what you should do. The man on the other end of the phone said, Marty's identity is too important. If you do anything to him, the Illuminati will definitely take action, and even that guy will intervene in person. That would be too dangerous. She slowly breathed a sigh of relief, then looked around. Have you heard everything? What are you doing waiting for the car? The blonde-haired woman sighed softly. Then who is the target? Priest Madima. The voice of the phone bug was dull. The target has been selected, the location is in Albana, and the name is Bell. Since you volunteered to go there in 4.6, then quickly bring him back for me. Before I leave, let me arrange my next job. No. Shut up, Stussy. The woman sighed with interest. Really, doctor, where did you go? Did those guys from the Illuminati really take you away? Yes, sir. Yes. It's really sad that we will be intimidated by the enemy one day. Chapter 187 Bell's Great Adventure. Stussy has a big secret that no one tells. Of course it wasn't such a trivial matter that she was actually a cadre of the CPO. She's actually a clone, an artificial life created by Vegapunk. Her life had no meaning, but Vegapunk gave her meaning. Even joining CP was arranged by Dr. Vegapunk. But now Dr. Vegapunk suddenly disappeared. Stussy fell into a violent daze. I feel that I have lost my guidance in life, and I don't know what to do. So when the CPO began to select personnel who came to Alabasta to capture the priests of the Illuminati, Stussy immediately volunteered. The Sun Knights revealed a lot of Zone Devil Fruit in the previous Marine Crusade, and the government suspected that it was the power of man-made Devil Fruit. Speaking of man-made Devil Fruit, Dr. Vegapunk is the only thing you can think of, right? There is no clue now. What if it is here? So Stussy came to Alabasta 13. She was sitting in the temple built by the Illuminati in Albana right now. Now that it has been transferred from the underground to the surface, the construction of the supporting temple has of course begun. Worshipping the gods is a very serious matter, and of course it requires a solemn place. Stussy sat in the last row of seats in the temple, and her front and surroundings were already full of people who came to worship. Almost everyone had expressions of awe and reverence on their faces. Stussy looked back to the door, and there was still a long queue outside the temple. It's just a simple visit. She sighed softly. Although the time is still very short, it seems that the Illuminati has planted a pious seed in the hearts of the people of Albana. That's terrible. How long has it been? Stussy looked forward, and at this time the person who was presiding over the visit was a young man in a priest's robe. His complexion was a little too pale, but his eyes were full of radiance, and he was a very energetic young man. That's the goal this time. Stussy looked calm, but sighed softly in his heart. He's so young, he looks like he's about 14 or 15 years old. It's no wonder that the higher-ups will regard him as the target of this operation, because he is too young. Pitiful. If caught by the world government, I'm afraid there won't be any good results in the future. But no way, work is work. Stussy took out the lipstick from the satchel and dabbed it on her lips lightly. The already bright red lips were even more eye-catching at this time. Everything about this boy has been investigated. He also has a kind mother, who is also a staff member of the Illuminati at this time, but she is not a priest. At that time, his mother was seriously ill and was about to die, but later recovered miraculously. Now that I think about it, it should be at that time that I met the guy who claimed to be a god, and then gave him the power to be a priest. Every night Bell would come home and have dinner with his mother. At that time, it is the best time to start. Oh, really? Stussy put the lipstick back into the satchel. Big sister, I really don't want to touch the child. What a headache. Bless the sun, she said. After finishing a day's work, Bell hurried home. His mother had already prepared dinner at home and waited for him to go back. Although he thinks he is no longer a child but an adult, Bell still does not reject the dinner time with his mother. After experiencing the crisis of almost losing his mother, Bell, who was already filial, was even more afraid of losing her. But today when he opened the door and returned home, he found that something was wrong. Bell, run. His mother, sitting on the couch, jumped up in terror when she saw him come back, waving her hands and screaming. Bell looked at his home in astonishment, but there were quite a few strangers in the home right now. The moment his mother jumped up, a man pressed her down on the coffee table in front of the sofa and covered her mouth. One of the women was sitting beside his mother, sipping tea slowly with her legs crossed. Priest Bell, close the door, don't make a sound, let's have a good chat. Stussy smiled and put down his teacup. Bell stiffened. He looked at his mother, took a deep breath, and finally closed the door and walked in. You are doing a very stupid thing. Bell tried his best to imitate Priest Marty's appearance when he was angry, and said with a sullen face, I am a priest belonging to the Illuminati, and you are fighting against the Illuminati and God. This is indeed a terrible fact. Few people in the sea should dare to offend you now, but... Stussy smiled softly. Who made us agents of the world government? World government. Bell's expression instantly became serious. There is no doubt that in the whole world, only the world government can be called their only and biggest opponent. What the hell are you trying to do? Bell tried to calm himself down. Priest Marty had taught him that the more anxious he was, the more he should calm down. Calm down. Now I can only calm down. Don't worry, it's not difficult. Stussy 433 smiled and said, we just want to ask you some questions. For example, where is the God you believe in? Bell's expression changed instantly, and his anger broke through all his rationality in an instant. What are you talking about? You want to spy on God? Be quiet. The man who controlled Bell's mother immediately warned in a low voice, if you don't want your beloved mother to have an accident, then be honest. Bell froze for a moment, his face changing drastically. Then, he took a deep look at his mother. There is no such possibility. Panting and trembling, the young boy proclaimed loudly, I will never betray God. Stussy was silent for a moment. Obviously he is a young man who loves his mother very much, but at this time, for the sake of his God, he doesn't even care about his mother's safety. Looking at the frenzied Bell, Stussy suddenly felt a chill. Master Stussy. The other agents were also somewhat sitting wax. What if the threat doesn't work? Stussy thought about it, and then said, anyway, take them away first. Anyway, he only needs to be responsible for bringing the man back. As for how to torture the information from the boy's mouth, that is someone else's business. Chapter 188. Rescue Priest Bell. Bell didn't fight back. His mother was the person he cared about most in this world, and now that his mother was being held hostage, he certainly didn't dare to act rashly. Of course, even if he wanted to resist, he definitely didn't have the strength to resist. Although he also has healing fire and zone demon fruit power, but after all, he is only 14 or 15 years old this year, and he has no strength to fight back against a CPO elite like Stussy. The young priest and his mother were held hostage by the spies, and they ran to the boat on the Sonning River overnight on a moving crab. By the time the sun rose the next day, the ship had already arrived at the mouth of the Santine River and was about to leave Alabasta. Bell and his mother were imprisoned in a room in the cabin. He was put on seastone shackles, so weak that he could only lean on his mother's arms. The morning sunlight shone into the room through the porthole, allowing Bell to clearly see the guilt on his mother's face. Sorry, Seer. Mother gently stroked Bell's soft hair. Her body was trembling slightly. It's all because Mom dragged you down. No, Mother. Bell shook his head with some difficulty. They're coming after me. I'm the one who got you involved. Then the mother's face showed worry visible to the naked eye again. What will they do to us? Will it not have any bad influence on God? If so, then we are really to blame for death. Don't worry, Mother, nothing will happen. Bell comforted his mother. God will definitely not be affected by us, and I will definitely not betray God. His mother nodded vigorously. Both mother and son are anxiously waiting for their future. But one thing is certain, whether it is a mother or child, they will never betray God. Deck. Stussy hadn't slept all night and was standing on the side of the boat looking at the sea. All went well without any obstacles. If there is no accident, when the news of Bell's disappearance is revealed by the Illuminati, they will find that they have already fled. I hope to know the whereabouts of Dr. Punk from the mouth of the boy. However, the teenager's attitude is where the trouble is. He didn't seem to be that easy to speak. I have to find a way to use some means. Like veritaserum or hypnosis. It's just that those things are useless to people with a strong will, and I don't know if they will be useful to this young man. However, let's take the mother and son back first, the higher-ups will find a way. The simple sea boat sailed out of the Santing River all the way into the sea, and then galloped towards the second half of the park. Alabasta found Bell missing in the afternoon of this day. Shen Zontian has never appeared before, you must know that he is usually very active. So they sent someone to check on his home. Then it was found that there was no one in Bell's house, and it was very messy inside. Any fool knows something must have happened. The news was reported to Marty immediately. Marty immediately ordered Alabasta's new government to start a nationwide search. But of course, nothing at all. But fortunately, while letting the government start searching, Marty also reported the news to the Sky Sanctuary and reported to the God-tier officer. A priest disappeared quietly, which is not a small matter. Mahad took this matter seriously as soon as he got the news. There is no doubt that this matter is a challenge to God. He immediately reported the incident to Du Lin. Bell. Of course Du Lin is no stranger to the young Bell. That boy was the holder of the first healing fire he created in Alabasta, the original member of the Illuminati in the true sense. Although there is no evidence, I am inclined to believe that the real culprit behind the scenes is the world government. Mahad said, except for them, there should not be many forces in the sea who dare to be our enemies. Isn't it? Just ask Bell. Du Lin chuckled. The power of domination activates. Even across thousands of mountains and rivers, all the fire seeds that Du Lin planted by himself were all felt by him at this moment. After distinguishing it a bit, he gave me the fire that belonged to Bell. Then, overrun mode plus the flying thunder god technique. In the next instant, the pale boy appeared directly in front of Du Lin. God. Bell was still a little dazed at the beginning, why the scenery in front of him suddenly changed. Why did he suddenly come to another place from the cabin? Then he immediately noticed the great existence sitting leisurely above. Although his body was very weak, Bell still immediately knelt down respectfully. God. Bell was very excited. When I needed help the most, you once again sent divine grace. Du Lin just smiled. Let's talk about that kind of thing later. So, Bell, what happened? It's the world government. Bell said in a deep voice, the agents they sent took my mother hostage, and I had no choice but to surrender. Now my mother and I were taken by them to a boat, which should be on the way to the government. That's it. Du Lin nodded slightly, not surprised at all. Quote. God, my mother is still in their hands, please show your grace again. Bell's forehead had already hit the ground heavily. It's very simple. Du Lin smiled, you said you were on the same boat. Yes, well, Du Lin slowly stood up from the throne, that's fine. Before Bell fully realized what happened, the scene in front of him had changed again. He found that he was back inside the cabin. Bell. My mother's exclamation came from my ear, where did you go just now? Was it God? Did God call you? Before Bell could answer, the flames had already surged out of his body. Where is it here? Flames gushed out from the cabin, along the corridor, rushed to the deck in the blink of an eye, and soon covered the entire ship. In her unbelievable eyes, Zagwang condensed into the appearance of a man. What's this? Stussy was stunned and hurried to see what happened. Crack. Men say so. Stussy saw the lightning and fell on the deck from above. But before she entered the cabin, she already found that the scenery in front of her had changed drastically in an instant. Then he, Nuo Zhao's, immediately understood that it must be God's handwriting, so he just needs to accept it well. What the hell is going on with the lungs? Bell was taken aback. God wants to see you. The boundless blue sea disappeared immediately, replaced by a palace that suddenly appeared. What happened? Stussy went into respiratory arrest. No, it's not that the palace suddenly appeared, but they suddenly appeared outside this palace. Chapter 189 Stussy surrenders. So what happened? Stussy's forehead was covered with cold sweat. I should not be dazzled, this guy should be Black Thunder Enel. A monster that can compete with Marine's alternate Admiral Pelusolino. The only bit of luck of, could it be a clone fruit ability user, was also instantly shattered when an agent wanted to resist but was turned into coke by a black and white thunderbolt backhanded by the man in front of him. Of course, the god in his mouth will only have that one. The god of the sun that the Illuminati believed in, a monster that burned the entire Mariajoy to ruins. As a member of the CPO, Stussy knew far more about the Mariajoy attack than anyone else. When Mariajoy was burning, she was in that white town. She was almost affected by the burning golden flame, but luckily she reacted quickly and dodged in time. What she knew better was that the leader of the CPO, the strongest shield in the true sense of the celestial dragons, was seriously injured by the sun god almost in a face-to-face encounter. That guy is a real monster. Of course she wouldn't want to be face-to-face with a guy like that anyway. So what's going on now? Why did I and others suddenly appear here? What did that god do? There was no time to think about it, and Peng had already landed at Stussie's feet. 043, didn't you hear what I said? Enel's tone was filled with impatience. No, no. Stussie quickly raised his hands, and said cautiously, it's just that I was summoned by God suddenly, and I'm a little too excited. Now she doesn't dare to make any more spectacle. If you are not careful, you will really die. HMPH, come with me. Enel turned into lightning, and in the next instant, he was already under the big ship. Stussie hurried to the side of the boat, she subconsciously looked around. Cloud. She saw the boundless sea of clouds, just outside the island she was on right now. Sky Island. Is it actually hidden on Sky Island? 5 elders, I seem to have found their lair. But it seems that I have no chance to report this discovery to you. Stussie sighed softly. If you think about it, you can at least ask if the doctor's whereabouts are related to them. She jumped off the deck, and of course other bewildered government agents had to follow. A group of people followed Enel into the temple. Then, they saw God. I also saw Belle mother and son kneeling respectfully in front of God. When did they come here? Stussie's heart was full of bewilderment, and everything that happened from just now made her feel incomprehensible. This god should be a phantom beast demon fruit power with some kind of flame ability. Is he really a god? Du Lin looked at the government agents who walked in with mournful expressions on their faces, with great interest. His gaze mainly stayed on the beautiful woman walking in front. It's not because of her beauty. Although this woman's beauty is indeed extraordinary, Du Lin has long been used to seeing all kinds of beauties in the sea. Although he likes beauties, he won't lose his composure when he sees them. Simply because this woman looks familiar. Blonde hair, dark green eyes that are very close to Orvia's mother and daughter. It's very close to the image of a government agent in the comics. Kneel down. Enel turned around, looked at the agents and said in a deep voice, before God's throne, keep me humble. Of course Stussie didn't dare to make any resistance, and knelt down on his knees. The other agents quickly followed suit. There is no way, if they resist a little, what awaits them is the scare of death. Belle really appreciates your care. Du Lin propped his face with his right hand, government agents. Quote. Stussie didn't dare to look up at all, but Du Lin's flat voice fell in her ears, but it seemed to turn into a storm, as if it would swallow them up at any time. It's all government orders. Stussie carefully shirked responsibility. We don't have the right to choose at all. If we had the choice, we certainly wouldn't dare to be enemies with you, the great god. Du Lin chuckled. I don't care about the reason, I only care about your deeds. It's over, it's dead. Stussie sighed inwardly. Doctor, this time I was really killed by you. If it wasn't for the purpose of finding out your whereabouts, why would I appear here? How could I face this situation now? What about the name? Du Lin asked. Stussie. The beautiful woman hurriedly replied. Great God, my name is Stussie. It's really you. The corner of Du Lin's mouth hooked. Stussie, oh, I've heard that name before. Stussie let out a small cry in surprise, and then quickly said, yes, besides being a government agent, I also have some side jobs in New World. Her name is barely a name in the New World, and the queen of the festival is talking about her. Even if the power is not as great as it was more than 20 years later, it is definitely not a villain. No, not that, Du Lin said leisurely. Vegapunk told me that the first clone he made, he named her Stussie. This is not Du Lin's nonsense, Vegapunk also told her about it again. He also begged me, if given the chance, to get that Stussie out of the government. Stussie finally raised her head uncontrollably, she was full of surprises. Great Sun God, is Dr. Vegapunk right here with you? Du Lin nodded slightly, he's working for me now. Stussie took a long breath of relief. If the doctor is safe and sound, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. I have been worrying all the time, and now I don't have to worry anymore. The agents behind Stussie looked dazed. Master Stussie is Dr. Vegapunk's artificial human. And Vegapunk has now become the subordinate of this sun god. In this case, Du Lin waved his hand casually, and in the next moment, the big-headed Vegapunk appeared directly in front of Stussie. What I promised you is done, Vegapunk. Vegapunk was still dazed. PhD. He heard some subtle voices. Oh, Stussie. Vegapunk turned around in surprise. Did God bring you here? How wonderful. It's no longer necessary to lurk in the government, and then work for God with me. The world's #1 scientist takes it for granted. Stussie pursed his lips slightly. Vegapunk's attitude reminded her of Belle and Son. But that's what she answered. Since this is your request, Doctor, of course I can. Chapter 190 Spy Stussie. Open black lens bracket learning close black lens bracket of Vegapunk. God, please allow me to join your army. Stussie solemnly knelt down under Du Lin's throne, her white forehead pressed against the ground. The expression on her face didn't change much, but she actually burst into laughter in her heart. With Dr. Vegapunk as the intermediary, there is a high probability that she will not have to die. Although she is a human-made clone, she is indeed a person living in this sea. She already has a life, so of course she doesn't want to die so easily. And the government agents behind her have changed their colors in this instant. Because of one sentence from Vegapunk, he chose to betray the world government without hesitation. Stussie, you have been a spy sent by Vegapunk to CP since the beginning. So jump right now without hesitation. This damn B**********D, the government officials were deceived by him. Being able to be arranged to carry out this hidden mission, the loyalty of these government agents is beyond doubt, and they have already begun to curse in their hearts at this time. But of course, on the surface they didn't dare to have any reaction. They are loyal to the government, but they don't want to die meaninglessly like this. Du Lin didn't answer right away. He fell in love with Belle. Belle, you are a victim. Tell me, what is your decision? Without any hesitation, Belle replied directly, I have no opinion on this, it's all up to God's will. Du Lin nodded slightly, and he looked at Stussy. Although Stussy didn't raise her head and couldn't see Du Lin's expression, her body trembled instantly because of the substantial gaze. The fateful moment is coming now. Then Du Lin said, although he did bad things to Belle, in fact Belle didn't suffer any harm. And Vegapunk also asked me to save you, so it seems that I have no reason to refuse. Thank you so much, God. Vegapunk happily bowed to Du Lin. Thank you for your magnanimity. Stussy will definitely fight for you desperately in the future. He really breathed a sigh of relief. Vegapunk is very nervous most of the time, and is not interested in many things except research. But as his first clone, Stussy means a lot to him, even if he doesn't look like a daughter, but I'm afraid it's not much worse. Stussy, don't hurry up and thank God. He urged. Thank you for your generosity, great God. Stussy immediately expressed her gratitude solemnly. Starting today, I will fight for you. Great. Du Lin nodded slightly, then let's deal with all the enemies for me first. Without any hesitation, Stussy immediately jumped up and rushed towards the government agents behind her. This is to hand over the certificate. I didn't regard myself as a member of CP. Joining CP0 is purely Vegapunk's request to be an undercover agent in the past. So of course Stussy will not have any hesitation. Stussy. UB ********* D. The agents who had been keeping their peace and order also became violent in an instant. The other party wants them to die, so of course they won't sit still. Several people greeted Stussy, and several people rushed towards Du Lin directly. Anyway, they are all dead now, so why not fight to the death? But just in the next moment, the agents who were coming towards Du Lin were already captured by thunder in midair. In the brilliant thunder, they didn't even have time to scream, their bodies were already turned into coke by electricity. On Stussy's side, her slender fingers had easily penetrated the throats of several agents. They are also CPO agents, but of course there is a gap between them. Although Stussy's strength is not very powerful, it is at least at the CPO cadre level, and it is not something these ordinary agents can compete with. In just a few breaths, these agents had already fallen into a pool of blood. God, it has been resolved. Stussy's face didn't change at all, and he knelt down under Du Lin again without blushing or panting. Great, let's go on. Du Lin smiled and flicked his fingers, and a spark flew out of his fingertips, directly sinking into Stussy's forehead. Forehead. Stussy felt a trip to her forehead as something entered her body. Don't resist, Stussy, it's a gift from God. Vegapunk hastened to speak. God's gift. Stussy calmed down, silently feeling the power that began to emerge in her body at this moment. Call. She raised her right hand, and the fire platform splashed in her palm. It was a golden yellow, incomparably brilliant flame. Asking for flowers. Stussy couldn't help being shocked. It turns out that the flames owned by the priests and the Sun Knights were really bestowed by the Sun God. This is not the power of Devil Fruit at all, is it? Why would Devil Fruit have such an exaggerated ability? Is he really a god? Stussy couldn't help being astonished in his heart. After that you go back to the CPO, Stussy. Du Lin said leisurely. Stussy was stunned for a moment, and then couldn't help but asked cautiously, God, do you want me to go to the CPO and continue to serve as a spy to obtain information? Isn't that what Dr. Vegapunk thinks? On the one hand. Du Lin said, on the other hand. He smiled, try to win over partners from within the government. Stussy was really amazed by God's whimsy. Develop power within the world government. Can such a thing really be done? Stussy wasn't sure at all. But since it was only God's request, of course she could only obey. Then think of a flawless reason. How did Bell and his son escape? How did he escape from ascension alone? Stussy sighed slightly inwardly. It is not an easy task to deceive the experienced superiors. That's right, God. Vegapunk suddenly said, the seed you gave me seems to have finally blossomed and bore fruit today. I was about to report to you, but you called me over, and almost forgot about it. Du Lin looked at him with some surprise. Of course, it is the high-level kindling that can bear fruit. After Moria, Du Lin bestowed the Vegapunk star with advanced fire. As the #1 scientist in the world, he certainly deserves the honor of the Knight of God. A Knight of God doesn't necessarily have to have strong combat power, right? Isn't Morgan's the best example? And now, Vegapunk's abilities have awakened. I was so focused on Stussy that I didn't notice it at all. Du Lin withdrew the fire from Vegapunk a little bit, and then the awakened ability of this guy became clear. Is called, open black lens bracket learning close black lens bracket yes. Chapter 191. The magical use of learning. Stussy wants to please. Learning. The power born from Vegapunk's great thirst for knowledge, has the ability to learn and master knowledge. Close black lens bracket. Just like that guy Morgan's, the awakened abilities are not abilities that can be used for combat. The ability Morgan's awakened is called exploration, which is the ability to see the essence through the performance of things. It is only natural for a journalist to awaken such power. Therefore, it is more natural that Vegapunk, as a scientist with a thirst for knowledge, would awaken such an ability. The ability to learn and acquire knowledge. Quite close to the description of Morgan's exploration, both are quite concise. Study. Du Lin was thoughtful. That ability is amazing. Vegapunk's was already dancing with excitement. No matter what kind of books or knowledge, you can easily learn and master it. It would take a long time to sort out the knowledge of the ancient technology of 337, but now it should be able to master all of it very quickly. Du Lin nodded slightly. Vegapunk's brain fruit has already given him extraordinary brain power. The ability to store massive amounts of knowledge and analyze and calculate is amazing. Now, even the last learning part has been downloaded. Vegapunk is really going to be transformed into a humanoid super brain. If nothing else, he will soon usher in a technological explosion. After integrating all the ancient technologies, the 4+ punk will probably catch up with him 20 years later in the original work. That means even more amazing technology. Seraphim, artificial paramesha devil fruit, doppelganger technology. This is of course a great thing for Du Lin. If that's the case, keep going, doctor. Du Lin encouraged, I look forward to the day when you develop enough technology to replicate Logia devil fruit. Yes, Vegapunk was elated. His greatest joy in life is research, and now his research ability has become stronger. Du Lin stretched lightly. Clean up. There are still many corpses in the temple. While the subordinates cleaned up the temple, Du Lin went to the library of the temple. He has an interesting idea. Now the library of the temple is quite large. After all, a lot of books have been transported from Ohara, and Du Lin has been collecting all kinds of books from the sea. After all, it is really boring. There is really nothing to do in this island of gods. You can't play with the maids every day. He often has to rely on reading to pass the time. God, do you want to read the book too? The girl who had just walked into the library and was holding a thick tome trotted over. Du Lin reached out and rubbed her head, then walked towards the bookshelf. Didn't you go out to play? The girl, of course, is Nico Robin. As the youngest little maid in the temple, she is almost working as the administrator of the library now, because she spends a lot of time reading here in her teenage years. No. The little girl hugged the book and shook her head lightly. There is nothing interesting in the island of the gods. Why don't you just stay here and read a book? The island of the gods is only this big, and Robin has been here for a long time, and has already visited every corner of the island. Also, Robin does prefer reading to playing with his peers. I shall inherit the will of Ohara. Robin said solemnly, expose the blank historical truth of 100 years. Come on. Du Lin rubbed her little head again. Although he is still young, he has a firm will and a clear goal, and has the fighting spirit and perseverance to work hard for it. Robin was indeed an amazing kid. But of course Du Lin didn't come here this time to chat with Robin. He walked over to the bookshelf where the books on Ohara's ancient technology were kept. He pulled a book out of it. Open. The dense text and complex patterns catch the eyes. This is a complicated book that is enough to make any layman dizzy, and even researchers with a certain scientific foundation will also be at a loss. Originally, Du Lin was not interested in such books at all, and he didn't bother to read them. But it seems to be different now. Explore. There was a slight gleam in Du Lin's eyes. The exploration ability from Morgan's is activated at this moment. This is the ability to see the essence through the phenomenon. Even without turning the pages at all, when Du Lin started scanning the book, the hidden information in the book had already begun to emerge in his eyes. If it's just like this, it's actually nothing. After all, Du Lin really has no scientific literacy. Even if he can see the information, it's also useless. But now, Du Lin has another ability. Study. The ability I just got from Vegapunk, now it's starting to show its effect. The original complicated and cumbersome knowledge seeped into Du Lin's brain like flowing water. Oh, Du Lin's eyes widened in surprise. Grasp it in quick understanding, and master it well. Interesting, really interesting. The ability of exploration enables oneself to understand, while the ability of learning enables oneself to learn well. The combination of these two abilities is the most terrifying learning ability. Du Lin closed the books in his hand and looked at the rows of bookshelves around him. Well, in that case, it seems that you can spend a little time to read all the books here. You don't even need to open the book, just use the explore ability to take a look at it is enough. In this case, I can become a great scientist myself. Maybe even better than Vegapunk. It is difficult to be omnipotent, but at least try to let yourself know as much as possible. Du Lin thought so. And at the same time, how is it, Stussy? This is my new lab. Vegapunk is showing Stussy around his new lab. Although it is not as huge as Punk Hazard, it has a lot of equipment. By the way, these are my assistants, they are all excellent weapons and mechanical experts. Vegapunk introduced several other members of the lab to her. This is Tom, this is Ace Bagu, and this is Fram. As a prisoner in the Sky Sanctuary, the three mentors and apprentices who were asked by Vegapunk to come over as assistants greeted Stussy with a smile. 3.6. Stussy responded with a smile too. She smiled and followed Vegapunk to visit the laboratory. But when there was no one around, she asked softly, Doctor, the fire seed planted by that god should have the ability to control us. Of course. Vegapunk said indifferently but took it for granted. Of course God has the power to control his servants, isn't it a matter of course? Stussy sighed softly. In fact, she has already felt that after the fire seed entered her body, she couldn't help but feel reverence for that god. Gradually began to understand why Belle and the doctor had such an attitude towards that god. PhD. Stussy hesitated. Is there anything God likes? Now that you can't resist anymore, try to cater to it. Stussy thought so. Chapter 192 Stussy's Confession. Something that pleases the gods. Vegapunk scratched his huge forehead. Stussy, what do you guys want? The beautiful blonde woman smiled softly, gentle and elegant. Since you have come to a new work unit, of course you have to please your new boss. Vegapunk looked Stussy up and down, then smiled, but if you want to do this kind of thing, it's very suitable. Even I know it. After all, God never hides his desire. He loves food, he loves wine, he loves pleasure. Stussy's eyes lit up instantly, so of course, great gods also like beautiful women, right? That's why the doctor said that he was very suitable. Although it is disrespectful to criticize God behind his back, since God has no taboos about this kind of thing, we can simply talk about it. A weird smile appeared on Vegapunk's face. He likes beautiful things. And will not hesitate to put it into action. I see, doctor, thank you 14 for your guidance. Stussy bowed slightly. After running Happy Street for so long, I have learned a lot of knowledge and skills passively, but it has never come in handy. Now it is finally time to show my talents. A big smile spread across Stussy's face. She has no resistance to this kind of thing. Although he joined CP just as an undercover agent for a doctor, after so many years of training as an agent, Stussy never thought that his beauty and body were just a weapon. It's just that in the past, this weapon has never had a chance to shine, until now. In other words, I have treasured this weapon until now. Stussy left the doctor's lab with a big smile on his face. She is ready to act. Temple Library. Du Ming was flipping through the book quietly. Instead of turning the pages of the book, I looked at each book one by one, and then turned to the side. After the combination of the two abilities, it usually only takes a few tens of seconds for Du Lin to master the information and knowledge in a thick book. There is a pile of books beside him. The maid, Miss Nica, is leading several other maids to put the books that Du Lin has read back in their original places. Miss Njia and other maids carried the books on other bookshelves to Du Lin's side so that he could get them easily. This kind of quantum fluctuation speed reading has lasted for several hours. Du Lin has read tens of thousands of books, and in a short period of time, his mind has been filled with a lot of knowledge. Never before has the joy of learning been felt so clearly as in this moment. Probably this is the hang-up. Du Lin thought so. He reckoned that with just a few hours of hard work, his scientific and technological accomplishments had already surpassed many scientists at sea. But no matter how much science and technology I have accumulated, I probably wouldn't think about putting it into practice. It is enough for someone under your hand to help you do it. Why do you need to do it yourself? It's just to increase some knowledge reserves. At this time, Tianyu walked over quickly. God, that Miss Stussy wants to see you. Du Lin put down the book in his hand. She hasn't left yet. Let her come here. Du Lin is also a little curious. What is this woman myself for? Soon, Stussy followed Tianyushi to the library. Oh. Du Lin raised his eyebrows the first time he saw her. The glamorous woman has changed her attire. The originally dignified and elegant long skirt was replaced by a one-piece miniskirt. The slim skirt outlined her slender waist and towering breasts. Under the collar was a small tie, the end of which hung over the chest. The slender and fair long legs were covered with a pair of netted stockings, revealing an indescribable allure. It looks capable and sexy. All the maids couldn't help casting their surprised gazes at her. What does this woman want to do? So, Stussy. Du Lin looked at her with great interest. What is the purpose of asking to see me? I'm so sorry, great God. Unexpectedly, Stussy knelt down in front of Du Lin. But the posture of kneeling down is more meaningful. Deliberately puffing out her chest and tucking in her abdomen, it highlighted her almost flawless figure even more strongly. What made Du Lin want to laugh even more was that when she knelt down on the ground, her hips were raised deliberately, so that the short skirt began to slide down slightly. It was almost about to fall from that towering place, revealing the plump land she had hidden in front of Du Lin's eyes. But none. It's just that close. It makes people very anxious. Du Lin probably already guessed what she wanted to do. Sorry. For what? He smiled. I asked Dr. Vegapunk how to please the great god. Stussy didn't hide anything, and directly said what she did in Vegapunk's laboratory just now. Du Lin really smiled this time, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. So what? What did Vegapunk say? The doctor said God loves beautiful things. Stussy raised her head. She just looked up at Du Lin. At this moment, in Du Lin's eyes, the expression on this woman's face was weak and full of a sense of fragility. Interesting. Du Lin even had the feeling that she had embraced Tinder for a long time. I have committed a crime, and I come to ask for your forgiveness. The glamorous woman still raised her small face, then slowly twisted her body, like a kitten, slowly moved in front of Du Lin, still looking up at him. The maid cast her eyes down, unable to see or hear. Yes. Du Lin's smile was completely uncontrollable. Miss Nica on the side immediately rolled her eyes. What he said was high-sounding. Her eyes were full of admiration, and the strong emotion seemed to overflow from the eyes like turning into water. Stussy even shed tears. No one can control your will. Stussy tried his best to puff up his chest, so that he could better show himself in front of God. I don't have anything, so in order to express my determination to repent, I can only use myself as a sacrifice. So he hooked his fingers towards Stussy. Come here. What an interesting woman. Du Lin reached out and gently stroked the woman's face. Combined with her appearance kneeling on the ground of 407 at this time, it makes people feel that she is like a glass sculpture, extremely beautiful, but it will break when touched. I was trying to curry favor with you, but it turned out that all such actions were just cleverness. Chapter 193 Reciprocity. Stussy left reluctantly. She thought that by pleasing God, she could change God's will. Of course she didn't want to go back to the CPO and continue working as an undercover agent. After all, it is indeed dangerous. But just like what she said, God's will never change easily. So Stussy could only sigh and be sent directly to Gaia Island by Du Lin, where he returned to world government by boat. But when she left a new piece of information for Du Lin. Interesting. Temple. Du Lin called Mahad over. The world government asked the CP to select some people and prepare them to lurk in the Illuminati. When Mahad heard the words, he immediately said in a deep voice, I will immediately order the people below to investigate strictly, and I will definitely find out all the infiltrators in the shortest possible time. Du Lin smiled. Don't be too deliberate, it will scare the snake instead. Normal investigation is enough. Anyway, ordinary believers have no access to the real secrets. Also, maybe it won't be long before Stussy will send over the detailed personnel list. Oh, right. Du Lin suddenly remembered something. It's not rude to come and go, since the world government has ignored my warning and started, then of course we should repay them well. Let Enel go to Qinghai. Meanwhile, Miss Stussy was making up lies. On a ship in a certain area of the Grand Line, Miss Stussy was frowning, trying to keep her ears away from the phone bug in front of her. What are you kidding, Stussy? You said you were attacked by the Black Thunder Enel, and you were the only one who escaped, and the target was snatched back by him. The man who was the phone bug headhunter was roaring with all his might, the sound seemed to blow the windows of the cabin. Stussy's face was full of disgust. She deliberately stayed away from the phone bug, so as not to let the phone bug send her expression at this time. But her tone was very sincere. I don't know what's going on, we've all been far away from Alabasta, and we thought we'd be able to return to the voyage smoothly. But that guy Enel suddenly fell from the sky, and in the blink of an eye, he manipulated thunder and smashed the ship to pieces. You can't expect me to defeat that monster, can you? He is so strong that even Marine's Pelusolino Vice Admiral can't do anything about it. The voice on the phone was a little calmer, not as aggressive as before, but it was also not friendly. Then what's going on? Could it be that there are traitors among you? It shouldn't be. Stussy trimmed his nails lazily, but his tone was not chaotic at all. After all, everyone is an old agent who has been selected for this mission after strict screening, and their loyalty is guaranteed. I suspect that the priests of the Illuminati have special positioning abilities. Oh, the superior on the other end of the phone pondered for a while. It's not impossible, their abilities are already very strange. The priests and knights under that god possessed special fire power. Of course, it can't be the power of the serious devil fruit, either man-made devil fruit, or some kind of technology. Now that we already have such technology, it is understandable to have some positioning technology. Damn it, doesn't this mean that he can't easily attack his priests in the future? It seems so. Stussy had a weird smile on his face, but from another perspective, maybe this is something we can take advantage of. It's completely possible to use these priests as bait to attract those guys. Don't say stupid things. The superior on the other end of the phone said coldly, unless you are absolutely sure, doing it blindly is the most stupid thing. Stussy smiled and nodded. Yes, the government can't afford to anger the gods. In short, come back first, since you can't achieve your goal by kidnapping the priest, you can only hope for the infiltrators. Stussy breathed a sigh of relief. If that's the case, it's over. There should be no suspicion. After all, I have joined CPO for so many years, and I can trust my loyalty. Then, do you need me to make atonement? Stussy sat up straight. All God wanted her to do was to get that list of infiltrators. Although it's not a guy worth caring about, if there are bedbugs who want to make trouble, of course they can't be condoned. HMPH, it's rare that you are still so active, but there's no need, the manpower has already been dispatched, you'd better go back to New World and continue to run your happy street. Stussy shook his head helplessly. Sure enough, there was no way to participate in the infiltration work so easily. CPO is a large organization, which is also divided into many departments. Although there are occasional cooperation between different departments, but in more cases, there is a subtle competition between each other. Of course, it is not so easy to participate in the work between different departments. I can only think of other ways. Try to see if going to old acquaintances from other departments can get the list. Stussy thought so. Then some time later, Marine G7 base. A marine base located in the middle and back of the park is also a G-series base stationed by Vice Admiral. On this day, this marine base ushered in a special guest. Thick dark clouds had gathered above the sky. The Marines Wang Dahao at this base thought it was just an ordinary storm at sea. However, when a big ship gradually emerged from the middle of the dark clouds, their expressions began to change in an instant. Especially when a man on the big ship flapped black and white thunder wings and landed, the Marines in the entire base couldn't help but fell into fear. Black Thunder Enel. A Marine officer couldn't help calling out the name of the man above in a sharp tone. After the Battle of Alabasta, few people in the world would not recognize the man in front of them. One of the knights of the god under the command of the sun god. God asked me to replace him and send divine punishment to you. In the pitch-black thundercloud, a huge ball of lightning began to descend. All the Marine soldiers in this base showed a look of despair. Destruction has arrived. Chapter 194. Rob Lucci, Giants. This is revenge. In Pangu City, the five elders were furious. That B************ D must have done something to his priest in order to get revenge on us. Just got word from the five elders. The CPO's actions were a complete failure. He had already snatched the man, but he was immediately intercepted by Enel, who was chasing him, and only one of the dispatched agents barely escaped and ascended to heaven. This news would have been enough to make the five elders furious. But right away, another piece of news came one after another, instantly causing the anger of the five elders to erupt like a volcano, out of control. MARINEG-7 base was raided by Black Thunder Enel. The pitch-black ball of lightning that fell from the sky directly blew up the entire base into ruins. Few of the Marine officers and soldiers stationed above the base survived. That is the Marine base of the G-Series. Marine has hundreds of Marine branches scattered all over the world, but the number of bases in the G-Series is less than 20, each of which is extremely important, and each has extraordinary strategic significance. The B********** D Enel already destroyed the G8 base before. And now, another base of the G-Series was completely destroyed by him. Of course it's revenge. Holding a 310 sword in his arms, five elders said in a deep and cold voice, that B********* D wants to tell us that if we cross the line anymore, we will immediately suffer their merciless revenge. This time it's a G-Series Marine base, and next time it might be the capital of a franchise country. Then I hope so. The bald five elders sneered. In this way, the whole world will know that they are a bunch of lunatics, and they will become the common enemy of the whole world. So, what's the point? Do you expect the armies of the allied countries to defeat them? Said another five elders. Everyone was silent. Yes, do you expect ordinary troops to defeat that group? This is something that doesn't make any sense at all. If you want to completely eliminate the threat of that group of people, you still have to find out where their lair is, and then ask Lord I Am to take action and wipe them out in an instant. This is the best and most likely way. What else can I do? This attack, of course, can only be regarded as nothing happened. After all, if they BHCG also retaliate, the result may not be so good. The government's counterattack can only touch places like Alabasta at best, and it is not painful at all to the enemy. But the enemy is different. Especially the self-important B******** D who calls himself a god, he can directly assault Mariajoy. The price both parties will pay is simply not at the same level. So it can only be as if nothing happened. Is a disgrace. But he could only accept this humiliation. Be patient for now. Look forward to the actions of the infiltrators. And the infiltrators have already started to act at this time. Alabasta. 3 teenagers came to the country's port city, Rapeseed Flower. Lucci, is this the place? One of the 3 teenagers, a simple and honest boy with hair like horns, looked timidly at the crowded temple in front of him, and swallowed hard. It's obvious, right? This is our goal this time. The boy with his hair combed into a ponytail, and the hair underneath tied into a ball with a hair tie had a smug smile on his face. Then let's act according to the original plan first. No problem, Lucci. A young pigeon stood on the shoulders of the young man standing among the 3. He was the youngest among the 3, but he was the leader among the 3 according to his position. The young man with gloomy eyes and indifferent face nodded slightly. Jabra, since you volunteered, if you lose the chain, I will kill you. Are you kidding me? The boy called Jabra said, very upset. Don't underestimate Lousy's acting skills. If you say there will be no problems, then there will be no problems. It's better that way. Lucci snorted coldly. Let's go, make preparations. The 3 of them came all the way to an alley and began to make preparations. The so-called preparation work is. Come on, Jabra, Bluno. Lucci relaxed his body and stood on the spot, looked at the 2 accomplices, and spoke calmly. Hey, then Lousy is not welcome. Jabra clenched his fists, chattering and laughing. Nah Lucci, please bear with it. The horned boy, Bluno, could not bear to exhort him. Hey, don't hesitate, Bluno. This is something we agreed on from the beginning. Jabra has already rushed towards Lucci with a stride. Bluno gritted his teeth, and then rushed forward. Later, in the alley, Bluno walked out quickly with Lucci on his back, and Jabra followed him. With a mournful face, Jabra gently stroked Lucci's back. Brother, my precious brother, why did you get hurt like this? The 2 accelerated towards the direction of the temple. The technological status of the islands held by different environmental factors has developed to the level of the future, while some islands are still standing thousands of 10,000 years ago. The priests of the Illuminati or the Knights of the Sun Knights were present in the middle and front of the entire Paradise Sea area. Sometimes, letting others lend a helping hand can actually bring them closer. Tritter sighed in amazement. Prehistoric island, an island that existed in the past, this world is really magical. Looking down from above, all you can see is a lush forest, and in the gaps in the forest, you can occasionally see huge dinosaurs. This is their strategy. First pretend to be injured, and then ask the temple priest for treatment. At the same time, the expansion of the Illuminati continued. The infiltrators have already started to act at this time. Tritter came to this island flying from above in a dry airship. Strictly speaking, the size of this island is not small, and it is more than enough to accommodate a small kingdom. Among them, there is a somewhat special island. The most interesting thing about the Grand Line is that the geographical environment and weather factors of almost every island are completely different. Little Garden, this is the famous minister of this island. Among them are many uninhabited islands. It's just that for the people living on this island, its scale is indeed only equivalent to a little garden. Are these the monsters that lived in this world tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of years ago? So, where are the giants? Chapter 195 Knights Fight Giants. Tritter was originally helping the doctors there in the Drum Kingdom not far from this island to study new ways to use the healing fire. But a sudden news interrupted him. The main work of the Illuminati during this period is to expand, and to continue to expand. Regardless of whether it is a government-affiliated country or a non-affiliated country, as long as it is within this sea area, all islands must be bathed in the brilliance of the sun. Which of course includes many uninhabited desert islands. The island known as Little Garden is one of them. Because it was an uninhabited desert island, the Illuminati didn't care much about it. Did not send priests, just let a few Sun Knights come over and want to occupy here. After all, this is just a deserted island, and wanting to occupy it is a very simple matter. As long as no one interferes, even a few ordinary people can easily accomplish this goal. But the problem is, it's not really that there aren't any residents. The Sun Knights from this island met their enemies here. And it's not an ordinary enemy, it's a powerful enemy that even they have no choice but to retreat temporarily and ask for support from their superiors. After hearing the news, the leader of the Sun Knights, His Excellency Fram, immediately asked Tritter to call the Sun Knights from the nearby islands to come here to eliminate their enemies. Of course, Tritter didn't dare to be negligent, and immediately boarded the dispatched airship, joined other companions, and came to this island. He stood on the bow looking down at the island. So, where are the giants? Yes, giants. Living on this island and preventing the Sun Knights who came here from occupying the island are two giants. Boom. At this time, a loud noise suddenly came from one side of the island. A volcano in the distance erupted suddenly, and the volcanic ash spewed out into the sky, with billowing smoke. Then, Tritter's eyes suddenly became serious, and he saw two huge figures approaching the center of the island on both sides of the island. Found it. Tritter's eyes lit up instantly. Such a huge body is difficult to hide even on this lush forest island. Ready to fight, Tritter said loudly. Behind him, the densely packed Sun Knights with hundreds of people burst into flames instantly, and then turned into armor on the surface of their bodies. In order to ensure that the battle can be effectively won, almost all the Sun Knights in the nearby sea area have been summoned. This is a powerful force that can easily destroy an entire maritime country. The airship was already approaching rapidly in that direction. And in the middle of the island, the battle has already begun. Two behemoths with a height of more than 20 meters are constantly colliding with each other while waving huge battle axes and giant swords in their hands. Ha 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 ha. Dory, the giant with a relatively fat body, wearing a two-horned helmet on his head, and wielding a tomahawk laughed loudly. It's been so many years, you should probably admit defeat. Ha 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 ha. It's you who will admit defeat, Brokey. The giant with a long beard and holding a huge sword in both hands also laughed. The stronger one is me. The huge battle axes and long swords collided continuously, releasing dazzling sparks one after another. The battle between the two of them has been going on for an unknown number of years, and it can be seen that the battle axes and giant sword blades in their hands seem to have been polished. It is really doubtful whether they are really lethal. Is it more suitable for smashing than for cutting people? But the battle between the two was quickly interrupted, and a ship came over them. The size of this ship is really not small, even a blind man can hardly ignore its existence. So when the ship appeared, the two giants stopped fighting tacitly, and they raised their heads stupidly at the same time. Boat. The fat Brokey stared wide-eyed. A ship flying in the sky. Dory, who looked taller and thinner, was also stunned. Is there such a ship in the world? Have they been out of this world for too long, and the technology in Shanghai has developed to this level now? Brocky the red ghost, Dory the ghost. Tritter flapping his flame wings slowly descended from the sky, condescendingly looking down at the two stunned giants below. *TT. The two giant pirate captains who led the giant pirates' rampage on the Grand Line 80 years ago. Tritter had a gentle smile on his face. Who would have thought that you would hide in such a place and keep killing each other? The accomplices of those guys before. Brokey reacted immediately. This guy is the companion of those guys who came to this island a few days ago and wanted to seize this island. After all, the characteristics are too obvious, and there are wings of flames flapping behind them. Our God wants his light to shine on this island, so can you leave this island and give it to us? Tritter said calmly. Hey, isn't it a little too arrogant, human? Dongli raised the giant sword in her hand. The blade of this sword was quite long, and almost touched Tritter floating in the sky. Although we are not the masters of this island, this is our battlefield. He said angrily. At the same time, Brokey also raised the battle axe in his hand. If you want to take it away, you can, just grab it from our hands. Got it, that's exactly what we thought. The smile on Tritter's face was even brighter. Then, let's go to war. On the deck of the airship behind him, the Sun Knights roared up suddenly, flying away in the sky in an instant. The Sun Knights spread out in the sky like birds, and the light from their wings almost illuminated the depths of the deep jungle below. So much, Dory immediately exclaimed. The Sun Knights have already condensed a handful of flame guns, and they have already projected them in the blink of an eye. Hundreds of flaming guns were like a torrential rain, and the two huge giants had no room to hide. In the next moment, they will be directly smashed into a sieve by the flame gun. At this extremely critical moment, Brokey shouted, Dory. The two have been fighting on this island for 80 years, but 80 years ago, they were best friends with the tacit understanding, just shouted. Dory already understood what Brokey meant. The two raised their weapons high in an instant. Then the next moment. Hakoku. Mouth. Chapter 196 Capture the Giant. Elbaf Raiders. God's Island. Dulin knew about the battle that took place in Little Garden. After all, the identity of the opponents of the Sun Knights this time is somewhat special. Blue Ogre Dory and Red Ghost Brokey, the two captains of the giant soldier pirates 80 years ago. Unlike the Saul I met in Ohara before, these two guys are serious giants from Elbaf, the kingdom of giants. And they also enjoy extraordinary prestige in their hometown, and even led the giants to help the Red Hair pirates in the original work. Well, of course that battle doesn't really need them at all. Redhead can easily destroy the Kid pirates single-handedly. In fact, he has defeated the Kid and Kira brothers with only one move. With the second move, the entire Kid pirate group will be finished. But the Red Hair really understands the world, and in the end, 403, made the two giants show off. Far away, Elbaf is a very special country, they are the most powerful country in the world. Can these two giants open up the situation in Elbaf? Dulin thought so he paid a little attention to the Little Garden battle. At this time, in Little Garden, the battle has entered a fierce stage from the very beginning. Hakoku. The two giants waved their weapons at the same time. The battle axe and the giant sword fell at the same time. Then in the next moment, the terrifying fluctuation turned into a huge spear that soared into the sky. The flaming guns that fell like a rainstorm along the way were all exploded, and an empty passage was directly cleared out. Then some of the Sun Knights who were caught off guard and had no time to dodge were directly swallowed by this shock wave. Almost all of them were ordinary knights who hadn't mastered hockey. The flame armor used to defend him was shattered in an instant, and his body was blasted into the sky by the shock wave like a rag doll, and finally fell suddenly. Kui Tei's complexion changed in an instant, and he actually mastered such a trick. All spread out. Since it is so close, it is easy to become the target of attack. Then just spread out. When the bodies of the Sun Knights fell down, the other Sun Knights had also been scattered and separated. At least two giants, even if they use Hakoku together again, they can't affect two people at the same time. It's so cruel. Dory put the giant sword on his shoulder, looked at Tritter with a sneer and said, "You didn't react at all when your companion died." Died. Tritter looked at him strangely. What stupid things are you talking about? They just returned to the embrace of God. They just entered the kingdom of God. A fanatic. Brokey snorted. So it's a bunch of lunatics. On the island of the gods, Dulin who was reading a book raised his eyebrows slightly. It was felt, there was a return of the flame. That means that the Sun Knight died in battle. Dulin casually injected the remaining souls of the Sun Knights who were engulfed in flames into his mental world. In the Sun Sanctuary filled with flames, several brand new flame spirits emerged. There was still a blank look on their faces. But soon, they were surrounded by many other flames. There are already many flame spirits in the Sun Sanctuary. Because in the last Alabasta battle, the Sun Knights were not without losses, and dozens of Sun Knights died in battle. They thus became the first batch of beings who entered Dulin's Sun Sanctuary after normal death and became his subordinate spirits. It seems that the battle with the giants is not easy. Dulin thought so. But it doesn't matter, probably just because they don't know the moves of the giants, so they were killed for the first time. The strength of the two giants is indeed not weak, but they are definitely not the opponents of Tritter and the Sun Knights led by him. There were several senior knights who went with him. The fact is just as Dulin thought. After the Sun Knights dispersed, the two giants also noticed something was wrong. That way, their Hakoku wouldn't work at all. It's really not good to hit mosquitoes with cannons. No matter how powerful the move is, if it can't hit, isn't it meaningless? Get rid of them. A flaming spear was also condensed in Tritter's hand, and the pitch-black hockey attached to it in an instant. At the same moment, other scattered Sun Knights also made the same action in an instant. A flaming gun is condensed again. Dory. Brokey clenched the battle axe in his hand, and the surroundings had become dignified. Dory's expression was equally serious. The two giants stood back to back in an instant, and both gave their backs to each other. Although they have been fighting on this island for 80 years, they are still the best friends who can trust each other when facing strong enemies. Now I can only work hard. Without waiting for them to say anything, one after another flaming guns have already flew over. The two giants waved the huge weapons in their hands at the same time, and then slashed vigorously. A series of flaming guns were directly blasted in the air, but more attacks fell on them like raindrops. Boom 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 boom. Huge and brilliant flame flowers bloomed instantly from the spear. Each shot was a terrorist attack enough to blow a warship into two pieces, but at this moment, such attacks fell on these two giants one after another. The terrifying explosion swallowed everything in an instant. It's just a pity. Bury them. But that's all there is, they really can't stand up at all. This battle ends here. It's really rough and thick. They still seem to want to stand up. They are still living in the kingdom of God, but at least let's deal with their flesh, so we can't let them be eaten by wild beasts, right? Not to mention dead, they didn't even lose consciousness. It's really rough and thick. Tritter looked down, and there were many corpses lying on the ground. Those are his colleagues. Tritter said so. Then finally, the explosion gradually stopped, and in the smoke, two huge figures staggered to the ground. Tritter was quite surprised, because he saw that the bodies of the two giants were still moving slowly. Should it be said that they are giants? Although it is not a bad thing to go to the kingdom of God, they should have a brighter future. Amidst the brilliant fireworks and dense smoke, two huge voices were constantly vibrating. The bodies of the two giants were already bloody, with potholes everywhere, and almost all of them had been charred. Chapter 197 Subdue the Giants. Fight. In the temple of the Island of Gods. Two half-dead giants lay quietly on the floor of the temple, and the consciousness that could barely be maintained before has been completely lost. The heavy injuries have made them completely fainted. Du Lin looked at them quietly. Mahad, wake them up. Yes. The second person under Du Lin's command, the Illuminati God-tier officer His Excellency Mahad came out. With a wave of his hand, brilliant healing flames were released, directly covering the two giants. As the number one knight of the Knights of the Gods, of course Mahad also mastered two kinds of flames at the same time. The flame of destruction has been transformed into his exclusive caster, along with the high-level fire, but the flame of healing still remains. Even if it is the same power, the effect of using it by different people is of course completely different. It is no exaggeration to say that Mahad's attainments in self-healing fire should be only inferior to Du Lin's, and the injuries on the two giants are rapidly improving. The pitted wounds on his body were rapidly healing, and the skin burned by the flames was also rejuvenating quickly. In just a few tens of seconds, their bodies were almost completely renewed. God 17. Mahad put away the flames and respectfully said to Du Lin, they have recovered. Then the next second, the two giants opened their eyes at the same time. It is obviously huge in size, but at this moment it shows extraordinary agility. They turned over and stood up without any communication at all, but they had reached a tacit understanding and rushed towards Du Lin at the same time. As warriors who have experienced many battles, Dory and Brokey realized the first time they regained consciousness, the thief should catch the king first. Du Lin smiled. Then his eyes suddenly sank. There was a pitch-black electric light jumping slightly on his body. Then in the next second, it jumped onto the two giants in midair, and the black lightning suddenly shot up. Wow! The bodies of the two trembled violently, and then crashed to the ground. Their bodies were so heavy that the entire temple trembled slightly. They are still shaking. This is. Brokey felt that his body was completely out of control, and almost every muscle in his body was shaking, as if the body's nerve signals were completely disordered. Conquerors. When saying this word, Dory's teeth kept shaking and colliding, and even left several scars on his tongue. How is that possible? Conquerors of this magnitude. It's not that they haven't seen someone who was good at conquerors, but this level of conquerors is too exaggerated. Even for experienced and strong men like them, their bodies were completely out of control after being shocked in an instant, and they couldn't even move in the blink of an eye. How can it be? How could there be such a powerful guy? Really, can't you be a little more polite to the benefactor who saved your life? Du Lin maintained the conquerors, and slightly sighed. I heard that the giants are enthusiastic, upright, and repayable. I am really disappointed to see you today. Conqueror's haki is gradually strengthened with the growth of strength. At this time, Du Lin's strength is well deserved, except for the mysterious and unpredictable I am. So of course, his conquerors is so strong that it is unimaginable. In the original work, the trembling conquerors of the red-haired admiral's green cow, who was directly shocked by half of Wano Kuni, was already considered a child's play in front of him. TCH, I was almost killed by you, and then cured by you, so we should thank you in the end, right? Dory collapsed to the ground, his voice indifferent. Even giants with simple minds like them can guess it. They were defeated by those who manipulated the flames, so of course they can only be caught by those people now. Not to mention that the man in black also used flames when he saved them just now. Ha ha. Du Lin smiled, and left conquerors, is it because we are wrong? Impossible. Mahad immediately said firmly, gods never make mistakes. It is these two guys who want to stop the spread of God's brilliance. The two giants who regained control of their bodies carefully stood up. Of course they don't dare to act rashly anymore. The difference in strength can be seen even by a blind person. The opponent doesn't even need to move, and they only need to use conquerors a little bit to make them immobilized. Then it's you who made the mistake. Du Lin nodded slightly, agreeing with Mahad's statement. He looked at the two giants and said calmly, since you have done something wrong, you have to pay the price. UB****************. D. The veins on Brocky's forehead popped out immediately. Shalwa was originally an uninhabited desert island. They have been fighting peacefully and fiercely there for 80 years, when suddenly a group of people emerged to drive them away and occupy that island. They certainly have reason to fight back. Choose. Du Lin put it this way, to be or not to be. The two giants froze for a moment, and then looked at each other in a very tacit understanding for a second, and then 283. Ha 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 ha. The laughter of the two giants rumbled like thunder, echoing in the temple. They were laughing heartily. Who do you think you are talking to, kid? The corners of Du Lin's mouth hooked slightly. Are you scared? Do you think you can bring the warriors of proud Elbaf to their knees by your might? Visible to the naked eye, the faces of the two giants showed a more proud look. Even this powerful enemy recognized the dignity of the Elba Hand warrior. Then how about talking about fighting? Good. Fight one of my men and let you go if you win. It was a completely unexpected answer. But of course, if you lose, join me. Du Lin thought so. The corners of the mouths of the two giants sank immediately. Du Lin said so thoughtfully. Du Lin smiled and said, use your giant's favorite way to decide. Does this guy take them both for fools? They looked at each other again. Indeed, if you choose to submit because of threats, then you are indeed not Elbaf's fighters. In unison. Chapter 198. Crushing. Elbaf strategy. Although it was fooled as a fool, but this is the only chance. Of course they don't want to die if they can. As Du Lin said, for the giants of Elbaf, fighting is the best way to resolve disputes. Now that we have fallen into a situation of helplessness, let's just use force to make the final struggle. In this case, no matter what the final result is, they have nothing to regret. On the square outside the temple, the battle is about to begin. Are you our opponent? Unable to find suitable weapons, the two giants, unarmed, look down at the man standing in front of them. Ha 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 ha. I'm ashamed to say it, I'm the weakest among those who are in charge of frontal combat in the Knights of God, but this is God's order. In this way, the man in front of them is Voyage, he is also unarmed, with a bright smile on his face. Ha ha ha, I really look forward to it. How painful will the fist of the Miao people be? How painful will it be? What is this guy talking about? The two giants were a little dazed. Is this guy saying that their strength is not worth mentioning, and they can't even make him feel pain at all? If so, it would be a bit too arrogant. Anyway, as long as we beat this guy, you'll set us free, right? The two giants looked at Du Lin, who was lazily reclining on a cloud lounge chair beside him. He just nodded leisurely. Of course I won't lie to you. That's all right. The two giants raised their mouths at the same time. Don't think about anything now, just let go and fight. Ha 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 ha. With a big laugh, the two giants rushed towards Voyage like dragons and tigers. Almost in the next instant, Voyage was directly kicked by Dory and flew out of the square. Even Dory himself was stunned. What's up with this guy? There was no defense, no dodge, and even opened his arms and let himself be kicked away. Could it be that the guy who claimed to be a god was actually a good guy? He threatened them on the surface, but in fact he wanted to let them go, so he specially sent a guy with no fighting power to go through the motions. But right away, they saw the guy who was kicked flying back with flame wings. Ha 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 ha, not bad. Voyage's body was covered with green flames, and his bright smile didn't change at all, as expected of a giant race. What an amazing power. However, just saying this is not enough to defeat me. Can it be stronger? The two giants looked at each other again and rushed to double-team Voyage. Huge fists and powerful kicks landed on Voyage one after another. Voyage burst into laughter after being beaten. Then. What? The two giants couldn't help but retreat. What's the situation? The more this guy is beaten, the more his body swells, and now he is not much shorter than them. The initial attack was somewhat useful when it fell on this guy, but now it feels completely useless. It seems that you are right. Voyage tilted his head. The attacks of the giants are basically useless now. So, karma. All damage received is transformed into an attack at this moment. Huge fists hit the chests of the two giants at the same time. Dory and Voyage heard a series of broken bones almost instantly, and then their sights were plunged into darkness. Finish. Du Lin snapped his fingers lightly. Voyage, treat them. Yes. Dory and Brocky woke up again from the darkness. They recalled a little bit what happened just now. Then the expression on his face became slightly sighed. The outcome of the battle is already clear. They saw that God was still lying on that deck chair and didn't get up, just making a faint sound, so shouldn't you also be willing to admit defeat? Dory and Brigitte were silent for a moment, then they looked at Voyage, who was standing aside. Is that guy really your weakest fighter? How can it be? Du Lin said casually, Voyage is a member of the Knights of God, the strongest organization under my command, and is in existence above all priests and sun knights. 17. But of course, among the fighters of the Knights of God, he is indeed the weakest. Voyage sighed. Even Moria, who joined not so early, is stronger than him. Everyone knows that you can't fight a protracted war with him, and you must defeat him in the shortest possible time. The two giants were silent. Du Lin smiled. It belongs to being hit by the huge gap in strength. So, I think, Elbaf's fighters should not backtrack, right? Du Lin said. The two giants were silent for a moment, then finally knelt down on one knee towards Du Lin at the same time. Then there's only one answer. Dory sighed. Now that you have chosen to fight, you can only accept the results of the battle. Brocky also sighed. We will be loyal to you. Now that he has failed, he can only insist on the honor of the soldier and accept the consequences of failure. Great. Du Lin finally sat up from the recliner, smiled and applauded. With the joining of these two guys, Elbaf's strategy can be launched accordingly. Then take this, it's something that can make you all more fishy. Du Lin released two fires as usual, and flew towards the foreheads of the two giants. Seeing the fire flying towards their foreheads, the two giants were a little dazed at first, subconsciously wanting to avoid it. Wang Hao Jiao. But after hearing Du Lin's words, the two of them forcibly stabilized their bodies and stopped in place, allowing the fire to fall on their foreheads, and then penetrated and blew. Soon the two giants understood what kind of power Du Lin had bestowed on them. Looking at the flames rising from their hands, both of them fell into silence. What is this? The tinder has already been planted, so all you need to do is wait. Wait for these two guys to reach a certain level of loyalty to themselves, and then send them back to Elbaf for development. This process will not take too long. After all, in Du Lin's flame with them again, in addition to granting two kinds of flames at the same time, he also added some soul power in order to speed up the process. Only half a month later, the two giants knelt down in front of Du Lin in reverence, waiting for him to give orders. Thus, the Elbaf raiders officially began. Chapter 199. The Return of the Giants. Block the Twin Gorges. Go back to Elbaf, Dory, Brokey. In the temple, Du Lin was giving orders to the two giants kneeling respectfully in front of him on one knee. Go and bring the light of the sun back to your country, so that the brilliance of the sun can shine on more giants. It's a great honor. Dory raised his head. His face was already full of fanatical smiles. It is hard to imagine that just 2 weeks ago, when he met Du Lin for the first time, he did not hesitate. He launched an attack on Du Lin. What a generous God who can let my compatriots also bathe in the radiance of the sun. Brokey was so moved that tears fell from his eyes. This is an honor for our compatriots, and it is also an honor for us. Please be sure to entrust this task to us, O great God. Du Lin nodded slightly, even feeling a little embarrassed. The ability of Soul Tinder is really too cheating. With this ability, it becomes a very simple matter to develop a powerful force. Strong and loyal subordinates can be obtained easily. Even people who were originally hostile, but as long as they accept the flame, they will become loyal to themselves in a very short time. For me who wants to conquer the world, is there a more cheating ability than this 737? But before going back, Du Lin looked at Mahad who was standing aside with his arms crossed. My god-tier officer, let's give them basic priest training first. Although the preaching in the Kingdom of Giants is definitely different from other places on the sea, it is necessary to rely on fists and force to open the situation. However, it is not a bad thing for the two giants to master some basic priest skills. Yes, of course Mahad would not refuse. Then, after learning the basic skills of priests with Mahad for a few days, the two giants were ready to go. Of course Du Lin didn't let them return to Elbaf from the Sky Sanctuary, that would be too far away. He used the Flying Thunder God technique to teleport the two giants directly to Wano Kuni, so the distance is already very close. Let Bullet prepare a boat for the two, and soon they will be able to return to their hometown after a long absence of 80 years. While the giants were on their way back home, the expansion of the Illuminati came to an end. The middle and front section of the entire paradise, that is, the area ahead of the Sky Sanctuary, has been completely covered by the Illuminati at this time. Whether it is an island with a human kingdom or an uninhabited desert island, all the islands within this range have already had the Illuminati or the Sun Knight stationed, to spread the light of the Sun God. Of course, these areas have not yet been included in the statistics on Du Lin's panel. After all, it is still too early to completely rule this sea area. But at least, within this sea area, Du Lin's order already has quite extensive authority. Even the kings of those alliance countries could not refuse Du Lin's request at this time. After all, few people in this world dare to refuse the authority of the Illuminati at this time. And Du Lin has already occupied this vast sea area at this time, which means that the Red Mountain Peak is extremely tall, stretching all the way forward from the sea surface. The part halfway up the mountain has been submerged in the clouds, and the upper part is completely invisible. It can be clearly seen that there is a seaway extending from the top of the mountain all the way down to the sea below. The name of this mountain is Reversed Mountain, and it is the mouth of the Grand Line from all over the world. There is a seaway in each of the 4 sea areas in the southeast, northwest, and is driven by the current to flow up the mountain in the opposite direction. Then at the top of the mountain, the 4 seaways merge into one and become this seaway leading to the paradise. Below this seaway, on the slightly flatter Red Line coast, there is a lighthouse. This is Twin Gorges, which is the starting point for adventurers who come to this sea area. Twin Gorges has a caretaker. There is a flower-like decoration on the back of the head BHDE, and a man named Crocus stands in front of the lighthouse, watching a group of people come to the open space in front of the lighthouse with complicated eyes, and they start to build a building here. From today onwards, this is the Sun Knight's residence. A man came to Crocus and informed him casually, you have 2 choices, one is to leave here, the other is to join us and become one of us. It's really domineering. Crocus sighed to himself. He had been tower guard at Twin Gorges for many, many years. But the gang asked him to leave as soon as they got here. Is it a little too ignorant to respect the old and love the young? I opt in, Crocus said decisively. There's no way. Crocus turned his head and looked. Not far from the coast, a huge whale in the sun was moaning low and long towards the upside-down mountain. Laboon still has to stay here to wait for his friends to return, so he can't leave here no matter what. But it is impossible to resist. Although he was once a member of the Roger Pirates, he really has no fighting power. It's impossible to find those retired old guys and let them fight against the Illuminati and the Sun God, right? He thought dejectedly that with the miraculous flames of the priests of the Illuminati, doctors like them were indeed useless. Crocus, of course, dare not say these words. The Sun Knight said with disgust, then you are responsible for moving the bricks now. The Sun Knight didn't mean to hide, of course, block the pirates, passage to the Grand Line. That would be useless at all. Move bricks, just move bricks. Fortunately, during the 2 years in the Roger Pirates, I have developed some muscles a little bit. Sun Knight nodded lightly, what are you good at? They have all retired, away from the troubles of the sea. Do you understand the gold content of Roger Pirate's ship, Doctor? Well, but Crocus asked curiously, what do you want to do when you occupy this place? Crocus literally choked. So keep it up, and there is no doubt about the strength of the Sun God. Even if the old guys make a move, I am afraid that there is no chance of winning. Even the 2 old bastards Garp and Zephyr were defeated. Crocus thought for a while, and then said a little proudly, I still know a little about medicine. Is it top 1 in the industry? I think back then I used to talk and laugh with your gods. Chapter 200 The Broken Dream. Ludo is a pirate, but it's not that great of a pirate. The announcement made by One Piece when he was executed in Logue Town more than 3 years ago shocked the whole world. At that time, Ludo was only 15 years old. After reading the last words of One Piece in the newspaper, he felt the heat in his heart be ignited. He also wants to go to sea to find the treasure of One Piece, to seize all the power and wealth in the world. So he went through a lot of hardships and finally joined a pirate group. A large pirate group that is quite well known in his hometown of North Blue. The captain's name is Shuka, and he is known in North Blue as Shuka the Slayer. He is said to have destroyed 3 towns in 1 month and massacred thousands of civilians. That's why it's called a killer. The name of the pirate group he commanded was the Shuka Pirate Group, and it was a large pirate group with 30 battleships under its jurisdiction. Even in North Blue, a pirate group of this size can be called rampant, and the Marines dare not provoke them easily. It is indeed a good time for Ludo, as an ordinary civilian, to join such a pirate group. After Roger was executed, all the great pirates within the range of North Blue began to recruit troops and prepare to enter the Grand Line. Shuka is of course no exception. It was under such circumstances that Duo was recruited to become a member of this pirate group. When he first became a pirate, Ludo still had ambitions in his heart. He wants to learn some skills from Captain Shuka first, and then go out and form his own pirate group by himself. But such a dream was quickly shattered in reality. An ordinary person like him with little combat effectiveness was recruited into the pirate group, and he was completely used as a coolie. It's not uncommon for decks to be cleaned overnight, as the most they do every day is to deal with clutter. Even the slightly more experienced handymen on the ship can give him instructions, let alone those old high in the cadres. As for what skills you want to learn, that is even more nonsense. The only time you can touch a weapon is when you are on the battlefield. How could Lao Hai give a machete to a handyman like Ludo, and then let them attack the merchant ship or even the marine? It's completely cannon fodder treatment. The yearning for the pirate life has been completely shattered in just a few days. But Ludo had nowhere to escape. The cruel Captain Shuka will not allow traitors to appear on the ship. The only way to get rid of this pirate group is to be sunk into the bottom of the sea and bid farewell to the world. Although it was only 3 short years, Ludo felt that a whole lifetime had passed. He was completely numb. But at this time, Captain Shuka finally made up his mind. He ordered the fleet to attack a certain town, and after replenishing supplies, the pirate group headed directly towards the upside-down mountain. The Shuka pirates are going to the Grand Line. Ludo, who was already desperate for his own life, finally regained some spirit at this time. Grand Line, that is the Grand Line buried in One Piece's treasure. Even if his life is already like this, but he can go to that sea area for adventure, of course he will still have some surprises in his heart. Although Captain Shuka's behavior is very bad, what if he finds the big secret treasure left by One Piece? There is still a little hope in Ludo's heart. It's just that the journey to the Grand Line is more difficult than imagined. When approaching the upside-down mountain, the current became very turbulent, and the fleet of the Shuka pirates suffered heavy damage when they came up. 5 ships didn't have time to turn around, and they were engulfed by the current and directly slammed into the upside-down mountain, smashing their bodies to pieces. Not even all the remaining ships sailed into the canal smoothly. Strong currents are still in play. 3 more ships crashed into the gate of the canal, and they were smashed to pieces again. Before entering the Grand Line, the fleet has lost more than a quarter. After entering the canal, 2 more ships crashed into both sides of the canal. Although they were not smashed to pieces, they were also torn apart by the strong current immediately. But fortunately, the ship where Ludo was on was safe and sound. The rest of the fleet finally smoothly rushed to the sky along the river all the way up. Ludo saw the magic and vastness of the world for the first time. Especially when the big ship rushed to the top of the upside-down mountain and soared into the sky. At that moment, Ludo couldn't help but shed tears. This is the adventure he is looking forward to. Mystery and unknown, vastness and greatness, everything is calling him. Ask for flowers. The big ship landed steadily on the downward waterway, and then began to dive rapidly. When it rushed out of the clouds again, the boundless sea area below was already clearly visible. Is that the Grand Line? Ludo couldn't help but walk to the side of the ship and look down. The place where all dreams and adventures meet. The greatest ocean in the world. Ha 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 ha. Let's go, little ones. Ludo could hear the laughter from the Captain Shuka on the big ship at the front. Follow Lousy to conquer this sea to capture the big secret treasure left by Roger. The laughter even covered the howling wind. At this moment, no matter if it was a cadre, an ordinary pirate, or a handyman like Ludo, everyone was laughing and laughing. 0. Near. The Grand Line is getting closer. A new adventure is about to begin. Boom. The sea ship ahead instantly turned into a ball of brilliant fire. Ludo blinked. Exploded. Exploded. Captain Shuka. He saw the invincible captain flying in the sky. No need to confirm, since the pirate flag is flying, it is a pirate. Ludo heard the voice from the sky. He raised his head subconsciously, and saw figures flying up from the sky in front of him with flaming wings. Flame, wings. Ludo's eyes widened. He had heard the name of this group of people. Illumination. He saw a flaming spear flying by. Before he could react to what happened, he felt himself flying with a loud noise. While flying in the air, he saw the vast sea ahead. Oh, Grand Line, it's clearly only the last step. Ludo's consciousness fell into darkness. This is the end of his big adventure. There are many pirates like him. When they were only one step away from the Grand Line, they were intercepted by the Sun Knight in Gemini Gorge. The flaming guns that fell from the sky shattered countless ambitions and dreams. The pirates who came full of hope and expectation could only be buried in the icy deep sea in the scorching flames. As a result, the world once again turned its attention to Illuminati Weapon.